Chapter 1064. Central Galaxy, Radiant Federation Territory, Abyss of Stars. A small spaceship with the Army's emblem slowly moved through the vast galaxy. This was a Black Star Corps branch stationed in the Abyss of Stars. This was the territory of the Radiant Federation. The Black Star Corps had been invited to establish a branch here more than 20 years ago, but the market here had long been divided up by many organizations. Coupled with the sensitive relationship between the Radiant Federation and the dynasty, the branch's development had been limited over the years, and its business share was very small. The Black Star Army was not popular everywhere. At the very least, they did not have much prestige here. The members of the Black Star Army that were sent to the Abyss of Stars could not enjoy the reputation halo of the Army, so they could not feel the benefits of the Black Star Army's influence. They were even often ostracized by some of the local beyond Grade A organizations. However, today everything had changed. At this moment, in the hull of this small spaceship, all the crew members were gathered together, silently watching the virtual screen in the hall. A piece of news was being broadcasted on it. This station has learned that an unexpected incident occurred in the flickering world yesterday. A total of 12 beyond grade as from the Arcane Church and the Radiant Federation attacked the frontline stronghold of the Black Star Corps in the free competition zone, attempting to kill the deputy commander of the Black Star Corps, Goddess of Death Hela. After the incident, Black Star had rushed to the scene and fought against 12 beyond grade as. In the end, he had chased away all the enemies and captured 4 of them. Among them, 1 was from the Arcane Church and 3 were from the Federation of Light: Red Devil Tolian, Energy Soul Wumra, Lone Ranger Jackernitz, and Hades. After that, Black Star traveled a long distance and captured another beyond grade A who was suspected to be involved in this matter, Beast Ancestor Garuten. His performance was shocking, and the cause of this incident is still under investigation. As soon as he said that, cheers suddenly sounded in the cabin. Oh! All the crew members present raised their hands and cheered. Their excitement and ecstasy were beyond words. Ha ha! We finally taught the Radiants a lesson. The Legion commander is invincible. Many of them had come because of Black Star's reputation. Now that they saw their leader achieve such a shocking result, they couldn't help but feel fanatical admiration for him. This piece of news boosted morale and had already become the hottest topic within the Army. The subdivision crew members present were even more elated. They were stationed in the Abyss of Stars and were often ostracized. Now that their boss had captured 3 beyond grade as from Radiance, one of them was the leader of the organization that ostracized them. Everyone felt that their Army commander had helped them vent their anger. The excitement did not dissipate for a long time. In this atmosphere, the spaceship arrived at its destination. This was a transit planet, and the spaceship had been here many times before. It approached according to the instructions and docked safely at the spaceport. As soon as the members of the subdivision got off the spaceship, they noticed that something was wrong. They looked around and saw that the pedestrians coming and going at the dock stopped at the same time. Everyone turned their heads and looked at the members of the Black Star Corps. Their eyes were filled with shock, fear, curiosity, and many other complicated emotions. This time, the registration staff of the spaceport came up to them. Compared to the formalized politeness in the past, their attitude was completely different. Their faces were filled with smiles of eagerness and flattery. This was a treatment that the members of the Abyss of Stars rarely received. Ah, look at these guys. If we don't make them afraid, they won't know how to respect us. Feeling the change in the attitude of the people around them, a sense of pride suddenly surged in their hearts. They felt that they could hold their heads high and felt honored. They didn't regret their choice to join the Black Star Corps anymore. The reason for these changes was naturally the shocking battle results of their Army commander. He had established his prestige in the entire universe, and the prestige of the faction had suddenly risen to the peak. With such a leader, the future of the organization was limitless. Similar scenes played out frequently in various regions of the universe. Now, almost all the players were in the world server. The players at the frontline strongholds uploaded the battle videos one after another. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted by such explosive news. On the forums, This incident had already flooded the flickering world section, suppressing all the other topics. Countless people were discussing it excitedly. The players did not know the twists and turns of this matter. All they cared about was the result of this battle, which was Black Star's terrifying battle results. Under his dazzling performance, Hela was completely ignored by everyone. They all thought that Han Xiao had defeated 12 people by himself. Even if they knew that Black Star was now a big shot at the peak, this kind of performance still exceeded the expectations of many players. They did not know much about the division of strength above the beyond grade A level, so they could only find it unbelievable. This is too amazing. I'm just asking who else is there. I still remember that during the Planet Lighthouse battle, he was also surrounded, but at that time, the army commander had the help of the dynasty's allies. This time, there's almost no help, but he actually defeated 12 beyond grade as alone and even captured 4 of them. I'm shocked. Paging Pork Bun. Wake up and make a video. Hurry up. I heard that the army commander did not hesitate to sacrifice his life to protect Hela. That's why he could unleash such strength. I'm shocked. Maybe this is love. The wife-protecting maniac is real. I'm rooting for this couple. The army commander is awesome. Many players were discussing. Other than expressing shock at Han Zhao's battle results this time, there were even more people who were excitedly guessing the impact of this incident. Now that the competition in the flickering world was fierce, the Black Star Corps was also in turmoil. For such an incident to happen at this time, the effect of establishing dominance was simply unparalleled. Even the alliance of Radiance and Ethereal was taught a lesson by the army commander. This kind of result was enough to scare off countless people. Furthermore, the army commander had also displayed a resolute attitude of taking down Garutan, who had stirred up trouble behind the scenes. This way, the faction advantage of the Black Star Corps would climb to the peak. During the competition in the flickering world, who would dare to mess with the Black Star? In the eyes of the Chinese players, there was a saying that could very well describe the result of Black Star's actions. If you punch away, you'll avoid 100 punches. In comparison, the organizations that had been warned by the Black Star Corps during the faction war incident formed a stark contrast. Due to the decision of these organizations to only take the beating without fighting back, the innocent casual players under their command had a deeper understanding of the importance of a faction. They were already dissatisfied with their faction, and now that they saw the huge news caused by the Black Star Corps, many of them were even more determined to change factions. As the saying went, if you can't beat them, join them. The first choice of these people to change factions was naturally the Black Star Corps. The players who had just joined the army during this period had different feelings toward this matter. In the previous versions, the players of the various countries were mixed in different star fields and could only watch the news of the Black Star Corps from the side. Now that they had joined the army, they could finally participate and discuss Black Star from the perspective of the faction members. This was a new experience. In the past, they had only seen others praise Black Star. Now that they could finally go on stage and shout "Army Commander is awesome" together, the feeling was indeed different. These new army players personally felt what kind of comfort it was to have an awesome faction leader. They shouted "Army Commander is awesome" even more enthusiastically than the old players. The forums were occupied by the army players, and they entered a carnival atmosphere. When the old players saw how excited the new players were, they felt that these new players were too ignorant and could not help but feel a sense of superiority. They also enjoyed it. The impact of this matter spread on many levels. In the Arcane Church, the remote projections of many beyond grade as in upper echelons gathered together to discuss how to deal with this matter. Although the mission had failed and Tolian had died, the faces of the people present were not very serious. In fact, they were even a little happy. This operation failed. We did not manage to kill Hela, but we are not disappointed with this result. An ethereal upper echelon said, "Your Excellency Kasui, you did well. You destroyed Radiance's plan and even made Black Star lose 3 of their beyond grade as. The upper echelons are very satisfied with your decision." Kasui's expression did not change. "I only made a small contribution. There's no need to be humble. Compared to Hela, stopping Radiance from obtaining the chip to unseal the 10,000 deity scepter is more important. The upper echelon smiled. Thinking that they had tricked the Radiant Federation this time, they were in a good mood. However, the 10,000 deity scepter is still in Radiance's hands, so it's best to negotiate with Blackstar or the Dynasty and see if we can exchange the captives of Radiance for the 10,000 deity scepter. Kasui nodded indifferently. Although the operation did not succeed, we also offended the Blackstar Corps. The chances of success are not high, but we can give it a try. By the way, you said that Blackstar displayed an ability similar to the multidimensional sky opening teleportation in front of you and sent Hela back to the base while the space was sealed. Is that true? Of course it's true. I won't be wrong. Hearing this ethereal upper echelon could not help but ponder. If that's the case, we can only cancel all of our plans for Hela. Since Blackstar had a teleportation technology that could ignore the space seal, there was no point in targeting Hela. The other party could escape at any time. The King mechanical suit that Han Shao displayed completely dispelled all of Ethereal's plans to target Hela. She was now considered safe. Seeing the reaction of the upper echelons, Sagman and the other former inmates looked at each other and saw the complicated emotions in each other's eyes. It was the helplessness of knowing that it would be difficult to take revenge, as well as the joy of escaping this disaster. At this moment, another ethereal upper echelon spoke. This was a member of the bishops. Let's not bother about Blackstar's technology for now. Anyway, the headache is Radiance. I just want to ask, what do you think of Blackstar's strength? The Beyond Grade as looked at each other before finally looking at Kasui. Kasui pondered for a while before saying, Blackstar's battle record this time is very shocking. However, we're participants and know the inside story. Although Blackstar's strength is not as terrifying as the outside world says, it's still strong enough. His strength is secondary. His fighting style, which has almost no shortcomings, is the most troublesome part. The indestructible body makes up for the biggest weakness of a mechanic, and with the help of the space-time amber, his actual combat ability is far beyond his level. It's difficult to judge. From this incident onwards, we have to look at Blackstar from a new perspective. We have to divide him into two forms, normal and explosive. The latter is a level higher than the former. Although Blackstar burned his potential this time, if he can burn it once, he can burn it again. Among all the Beyond Grade, as there are not many who can guarantee that they can win against Blackstar in his explosive state. Therefore, it's best not to force him to this point again. After hearing this, the ethereal upper echelons looked at each other. What he meant was that they should not provoke Blackstar again. On the other side, the Radiant Federation also held a similar meeting. The atmosphere was completely different from the relaxed atmosphere of the Arcane Church. It was very serious. President Bader looked around and said seriously, 3 Beyond Grade as have fallen into the dynasty's hands. Can anyone tell me how things turned out like this? Can anyone give me an explanation? The remote projections of the many Beyond Grade as present were speechless. They could not help but look at the few empty seats. Bader's current mood was as uncomfortable as if he had suddenly stepped on a dog while walking on the road. Before the operation, he felt that this operation was in the bag. Even if they did not capture Hela, with the mobility of the 6 Beyond Grade as and the multidimensional sky opening transportation device, it would not be a problem for them to escape unscathed. However, he did not expect the losses to be so great. This kind of result made him wonder which part of the process had gone wrong. Vader turned to look at Sierran and said with a deep voice, "You're the leader of this operation. I originally had high hopes for you. Do you have anything to say now?" Hearing the blame in the president's tone, Sierran's face turned green. He said angrily, "It's all Kasui's fault." Hearing this, the expressions of the Radiant's upper echelons present were not good. During the Battle of Planet Lighthouse, the Radiants had hit Ethereal while it was down, and now they were being hit back by Ethereal. At this time, many people felt that the tables had turned. They finally understood how Su Ling felt at that time. This time, Manison calmly said, "The main reason for this is that Ethereal was involved. However, The root of it was that Black Star had predicted this and purposely used a fake location to mislead the outside world. His main body was hidden nearby and caught Sierran and the others off guard. Plus, they were in the enemy camp and could not fight too long, so they were not able to use their full strength. That was why they were defeated one by Black Star. Don't underestimate a peek beyond grade A mechanic. Vader narrowed his eyes and looked over. I heard that you were also involved in this and went to fight Garutin. That's right. Manison nodded and did not deny it. After taking a deep look at him, Balder didn't continue asking. He changed the topic and said coldly. The most important thing now is to negotiate with the dynasty and redeem the 3 beyond grade A allies. Don't provoke Black Star again during this time. Then he went offline and prepared to take a few pills. He did not want to see these annoying allies for the rest of the day. On the mother planet of the Red Empire, in the conference room of Turnamir Palace, the matter is over. Everyone knows the details. Let's talk about what happened. On the main seat, Urinril crossed her arms and rested her chin on them. She scanned the upper echelons present. Everyone was silent for a while before one of the upper echelons spoke. Black Star resolved this matter beautifully, completely beyond our expectations. Now that we have the beyond grade A captives in our hands as bargaining chips, we have the initiative to negotiate. Black Star has also shown his trump card of explosiveness, so our judgment of his strength has increased by another level. According to me, although this matter was not caused by us, we can give Black Star a certain amount of support as compensation for him burning his potential and show him how much we value him. That's right, Urinril replied, while glancing at Bekarodi from the corner of her eyes. However, she found that Bekarodi's eyes were slightly closed, as though he did not intend to speak. Originally, Bekarodi thought that Black Star would have to rely on the dynasty's support to get through this difficulty, so he insisted that Hela join the dynasty. However, Black Star had basically solved the problem on his own, and the dynasty did not help at all. Thus, this proposal was a little untenable. Furthermore, Han Zhao's battle results this time also surprised Bekarodi. The entire dynasty's upper echelons now viewed him with even more importance. Under such circumstances, Bekarodi did not have anything else to say and chose to remain silent. Seeing that no one objected, Urinril continued. Regarding compensating Black Star, I plan to implement a plan temporarily open up the right to sell the evolutionary totems. As soon as this was said, many of the upper echelons present widened their eyes in shock. Only a few of them had expected this, and had an as-expected expression. Because of the issue with the evolution cube, the dynasty and Black Star were not on good terms, and a rift had formed. After this incident, seeing Black Star's ability, the dynasty finally decided to take a step back and take the initiative to mend their relationship. Chapter 1065. The bright starlight shone through the floor-to-ceiling windows on the top floor and reflected in Sorokin's pupils. He stood in front of the window with his hands behind his back, looking up at the black velvet curtain dotted with diamonds in the sky. Garutin is done for. Thinking back to a few days ago, he was still drinking and chatting happily with Garutin in Beast Ancestor's palace. Now, his voice and appearance were still in his mind. Sorokin could not help but mourn for 3 seconds. Although he was more of a mouthpiece in this matter, he also secretly had the idea of adding fuel to the fire. Now that all his plans had been broken by Black Star, he could not help but feel helpless that all his efforts had been for naught. It's a pity that I couldn't use Hela to start a conflict. Sorokin shook his head. However, it's not bad without Garutin. Garutin was a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group. On one hand, Sorokin used his position as a shareholder in exchange for protection. On the other hand, he used Garutin's channels to consolidate his transactions with the galactic black market. After so many years, Sorokin had already used Garutin's channels to secretly infiltrate the galactic black market. Even if he cut off Garutin's channels now, it would not affect his business. However, he could not take the initiative to kick Garutin away after crossing the river. Now, because of this matter, he had indirectly lost a major shareholder. For Sorokin, it also saved costs. Some of the business channels that he had to give to Garutin in the past could be taken back and carried out normally. At the same time, he could also nibble away the main business and market of Beast Ancestors organization. Garutin's fall is not a bad thing for me. Maybe I can use the shareholder position he left behind as a bargaining chip in exchange for the support of the other protectors of the galactic black market, and let me become the new protector of the galactic black market. Sorokin narrowed his eyes, secretly thinking about what benefits he could gain from this. Although he had cooperated with Garutin, in Sorokin's eyes, business partners were not really his people. To him, they were just partners in different projects. Their relationship was purely based on interests. Therefore, when Garutin fell, he was not sad at all. Instead, he was happy that there was one less person to share the profits with. However, Black Star's combat power is indeed shocking, Sorokin pondered. After this, the Red Empire will probably re-evaluate the relationship between the two sides. There's a 60% chance that they'll temporarily put aside the dispute over the ownership of the Evolution Cube and compensate Black Star by opening up the totem sales rights. Then, my deal with Radiance, Ethereal, and the Dynasty's hardliners can be put aside for now. It's time to stop targeting the Black Star core and take back the tentacles that have reached into Black Star's territory. The Limitless Financial Group had accepted different deals from various parties before targeting the Black Star core commercially. The core reason was the issue of the evolutionary totem. Radiance and Ethereal wanted to put pressure on the Dynasty in many ways, forcing them to open up the totem sales rights. Therefore, they wanted to use Black Star's attitude to influence the Dynasty. The Dynasty's hardliner's goal was to put pressure on Black Star and make him have the inclination to hand over the Evolution Cube in exchange for other universal treasures. If the Dynasty opened up the totem sales rights, these two problems would be easily solved, and the Limitless Financial Group would naturally have no need to continue pressuring them. Putting aside the consideration of benefits, Sorokin actually had plans to lie low. Black Star had achieved a battle record that was enough to be recorded in history. It was now the time for him to be domineering. If the Limitless Financial Group went too far, they would most likely be targeted by Black Star even more fiercely. Therefore, there was no harm in keeping a low profile. Sorokin did not want to fall out with them. After all, Black Star was a local dragon in the flickering world. It was fine if they had small conflicts, but it would not be nice if they had a huge conflict. Even he had to deal with Black Star seriously in his explosive state. He did not want to expose his strength and lose his disguise as a weakling. There's also Traveler. Sorokin's eyes flickered. It's best to get rid of him. I didn't expect Black Star to get rid of Garutin so decisively. It seems like there's a reason for my reminder. Somewhere in the flickering world free competition zone, Secret Master looked at the news on his communicator. His forehead, which was full of colorful magic patterns, was filled with wrinkles. He and Garutin had both been protectors of the galactic black market for many years, and there had been many battles between them. He had a deep understanding of Garutin's strength and knew that he was no match for him. Otherwise, the shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group would not have been Garutin. Seeing that Garutin was finished off by Black Star, Secret Master was both surprised and fearful. At the same time, he also lamented that he had lost an old rival. Of course, although he was sad, if anyone wanted to redeem Garutin, he would be the first to kill them. A moment later, Secret Master adjusted his mentality and thought about how to profit from this. The organization left behind by Beast Ancestor is a piece of fat meat. It's just nice to divide it up and use it to strengthen my own organization. Among his descendants, there are some rather talented fellows. I can recruit them to work for me. If I bring them a Black Star to see Garutin's specimen, it'll be quite interesting. Thinking of this, Secret Master could not help but smile. Black Star has done something big this time. It's best to keep in touch with him in the future. Black Star will lead the Beyond Grade A United Front. I should pay more attention to this matter. In the Red Empire territory, somewhere in the Constellation Corridor, a Dynasty patrol ship was leisurely moving. On the observation deck of the cabin, a Dynasty male in a low-level officer uniform had his arms on the railing. He was holding a communicator and staring at it with a silly grin on his face. This person was muscular and looked simple and honest. The first impression he gave was that of a soldier. If not for the special position mark on his uniform, it would be hard to imagine that he was a grade C supercombatant of the pugilist class. This time, a few of his colleagues who were patrolling walked over. Seeing this muscular man, someone shouted, "Yo, Carrot, what are you looking at? Why are you smiling so brightly?" "Ah, I'm watching the news." Carla turned his head and smiled foolishly. This person was the beyond grade a potential stock that Han Xiao had once paid attention to, the dynasty's peak muscular bully in his previous life. More than 20 years ago, he was still a teenager studying in the dynasty's super academy. He had not even awakened. Now, 20 years had passed, and he had turned from a young and naive man to a middle-aged naive man. His strength had only reached grade C, and his growth was not fast. Because of Han Zhao's interference, his growth path was different from his previous life. However, there were no major changes. Carrot still joined the dynasty's military after graduation. After more than 10 years, he was still a low-level officer and had almost never been promoted. This time, a few of his colleagues came over. When they saw the news about Han Xiao on the communicator, they could not help but laugh. "News about His Excellency Black Star? Huh, I guessed it right away." One of his colleagues winked and joked, "Sigh, what a pity. You know Black Star, but Black Star doesn't know you, his #1 fan." "He knows me," Carrot said. "When I was young, His Excellency Black Star personally tried to recruit me." Before he could finish his words, his colleagues were already convulsing with laughter. "Ha ha, it's starting again. Continue bragging, don't stop. The legendary talent personally recruited by Black Star. I can't take it anymore. Let me laugh for a while more." Seeing this, Carrot was not angry. He scratched his head and smiled helplessly. Ever since he came into contact with Han Xiao when he was young, he had been paying attention to Han Zhao's news and gradually treated him as his idol. Once, a colleague asked him the reason, and he told them about it. However, he did not expect that no one would believe him, and he became the joke and bragging king among his colleagues. An ordinary grade C dynasty low-level officer, Black Star, personally recruited him? Who would believe it? It sounded like bragging. Status depended on strength. Even if Han Xiao personally recruited him, 20 years had passed, and Carrot's growth was not worthy of the word talent. This matter was also forgotten and not written in his resume. His colleagues did not believe him, and he had no intention of proving himself. He did not care whether others believed him or not, and he did not care about being teased. In the beginning, because of Black Star's attention, the Academy had high hopes for him. Later, when they found out that his talent was mediocre, they gave up on focusing on him. However, Carrot did not have complicated thoughts, nor was he in a hurry to prove himself. He just slowly trained and enjoyed it. These years, Carrot would occasionally wonder if Black Star had made a mistake, but this kind of doubt did not bother him. The cold eyes and disappointment of others did not affect him much, and he did not feel that there was anything to be angry about. If he was destined to be mediocre, then he would just embrace mediocrity and do his own things. There was no need to force others to think highly of him. This had always been Carrot's way of life. Helplessly shaking his head, Carrot ignored his colleagues who were laughing at him and looked at the communicator again. Looking at the image of Han Xiao, he could not help but smile from the bottom of his heart. Galaxy calendar year 730, February 18th. This was a day that would go down in history. On this day, Black Star fought a battle that was rarely seen in 100 years in the flickering world. Originally, Radiance and Ethereal's hunting operation against Hela was very likely to become the fuse for the conflict between the three universal civilizations again. However, Black Star almost single-handedly suppressed this storm, shaking the entire universe. This big news even suppressed the limelight of the entire flickering world, forming a silent effect. Even the competition temporarily stopped. The various organizations in the free competition zone were silent for a while, waiting to see how things would develop. Countless galactic residents knew that Black Star was a top powerhouse in the universe, but Han Xiao was a newcomer who had only appeared a few decades ago. In terms of prestige, there was still a gap between him and veteran peak beyond grade, as like Manison and Kasui. However, this news refreshed countless people's impression of him. His image became even bigger and more mysterious, and his prestige in the entire universe skyrocketed. What happened on this day was also given a name by the outside world, Black Star's godlike battle. It surpassed all his previous achievements and became the most representative beyond grade A achievement in Han Zhao's resume. At the same time, it also became the topic of conversation for countless people. At the same time, the super popular Wayne cards made another announcement, saying that in the next revision, they would make an epic enhancement to Black Star's character summon card. They would also release a commemorative card set with the theme Black Star's godlike battle. The other neutral beyond grade, as were also shocked by Black Star's achievements. Thinking of the consequences of Garutan taking the initiative to provoke him, more people decided to make friends and not make enemies. How could the matters of a beyond grade A be called following one's heart? Just as the impact of this matter was fermenting, countless people once again turned their attention to the Black Star core. Han Zhao did not care about the changes in the outside world. He directly returned to Black Star Palace and made an announcement to the outside world, saying that he would be going into seclusion to rest for a period of time. In Black Star Palace, Han Zhao did not chat with the many officers after returning. He only greeted them briefly before rushing back to his private training ground. He closed the door and locked himself inside. Fu Ding and Nero were also among the officers who came to welcome him. Han Zhao had already checked the two of them. At this time, in the room, he opened a mission list with his hands full of fragrant European luck and took a deep breath. Heaven Spirit, Earth Spirit, I hope I get something good. Rescue Hela has been completed. You have received 920 billion EXP for random rewards and 1 blank character summon card. You have received 1 universe legendary point. Indeed, this legendary point is related to this. Han Zhao was not surprised. He rubbed his hands and looked at the notification with anticipation. There were 4 unknown character summon cards in the reward. With so many strong people participating in the battle, he did not know who he would get. If he got a few noobs, it would obviously not be worth it. If he got a group of strong people, the chances of him getting a powerful character summon card would be much higher. You have received character summon card Kasui. You have received character summon card Serene. You have received character summon card Garutan. You have received character summon card Hela. Chapter 1066. Character summon card Void Overlord Kasui. Artificial Psychic Undercurrent. Uses a large range psychic attack to form a long-term offensive psychic undercurrent. Can be simply controlled. Will deal multiple damage to all living targets in the area. 3 damage tests per second. Base damage per test is INT plus MYS, X1. 8. At the same time, it has 170% psychic resistance penetration and a random chance to inflict a negative mental status on the target. Uses 0/2 if the test fails. 500,000 to 800,000 true damage will be dealt to the target. Uses 0/2 character summon card. Beast Ancestor Garutan. Body of the Beast Ancestor. Plus 20% STR, plus 20% DX, plus 40% END, plus 300% Pugilist Flame damage, plus 2. 5% HP recovery per second. This effect is not affected by combat status. Uses 0 of 2 character summon card. Goddess of Death, Hela. Revival of Death Resistance. When your HP reaches 0, you will be immune to this death and immediately recover 25 to 50% of your HP. At the same time, you will refresh your status. This ability can be given to other life forms, but it can only be effective once on the same target. Uses 0/6. Wow, this batch of goods is good. After looking at the effects of each character summon card, Han Zhao could not help but be overjoyed. As expected of someone with pinnacle beyond grade A and super high-risk Esper abilities, the quality was very high. The Kasui character summon card was a pure attack skill. Its basic attack power was not bad. Han Zhao's current intelligence and mystery attribute added together was close to 30,000, and multiplied by 1. 8. It would be more than 50,000 basic damage. If it was judged 3 times per second, it would be around 150,000 theoretical damage. Moreover, the 170% spirit penetration could greatly weaken the effect of the target's psychic barrier. If it encountered a weaker opponent, it could even deal damage that was close to true damage. If it was just a one-time psychic attack, it would not be a big deal. The power of this character summon card was that it could create a destructive psychic current, and this thing would not dissipate easily. As long as it was controlled well, it would be equivalent to having a large moving circle on the battlefield, causing continuous psychic damage. Calculating it this way, the damage would be off the charts. Seren's character summon card was also an attack skill. However, unlike Kasui's AoE skill, this was a single target attack. Needless to say, the Judgment of Death was extremely powerful. The only downside was that the conditions were too harsh. However, the true damage after failing the judgment was also very high. If he could deal the highest 800,000 true damage each time, he would be able to send Cisco to hell in just a few hits. However, this skill would not be very effective against targets who were immune to true damage. If Seren used this ability on me, it would be no different from tickling me. The single target damage of a peak pugilist is still very strong against a proper beyond grade A. Han Xiao nodded. Garutin's character summon card was an all-round buff. It was very effective and very suitable for pugilists. It was also useful for Han Xiao. The basic attribute buff and recovery bonus would be of some help to him. The last thing that surprised Han Xiao the most was Hela's character summon card. This was the effect of instant death immunity after it was upgraded, which was equivalent to a chance to be reborn. Even though he was very tanky right now, this character summon card still gave him a layer of insurance. The shocking thing was that it could actually give others the chance to resist death, making them immune to death once. The character summon card was the embodiment of the character's ability, which meant that Hela herself had such an ability. However, Han Xiao had seen her interface before. She clearly did not give others the ability to resist death. Could it be that this battle forced out her potential and allowed her to awaken a new use for her Esper ability? Han Xiao guessed. Based on the actual situation, the possibility was not small. In this battle, Hela and Aurora had established a distance-less connection. Perhaps the appearance of this ability had something to do with that. It was not hard to explain why Hela did not have this ability in his previous life. Outsiders could only be revived once and could not be revived by Hela indefinitely. However, at least they had an extra life, which was great news for the officers of the Black Star Corps. I used quite a number of character summon cards this time, including Cisco, Ames, Mecha Empire, and Ening. I only used Perfect Mechanical Sense and Polar Channel Flow, and the blank character summon card rewarded by this mission can make up for the double Perfect Mechanical Sense. Therefore, I only lost one Tyrant character summon card. Now that I have obtained 4 character summon cards, it can be considered as breaking even. Han Zhao's face was filled with joy. The character summon cards were just the appetizer, and it had already allowed him to break even. The chance to draw abilities was the real deal, which was pure profit. He suppressed his excitement and nervousness and looked at the notification on the interface. Additional mission requirements completed. This time, he had captured 5 people: Tolian, Wumra, Jackernitz, Hades, and Garutin. They were all targets of the mage, mechanic, pugilist, and psychic systems. Although their average strength was not as good as the 4 of them, the abilities he would draw were permanent. 2 of them were noobs, but they were still beyond grade A, so there was still a chance for him to draw good ability. Rice has to be eaten one bite at a time, and the road has to be taken one step at a time. The best should be left for last. Han Xiao hesitated for a moment before deciding to start with the noobs. Hint: Hades is a psychic. Some of the available abilities have been automatically adjusted according to your class. Randomizing complete. Please select one from the following 5 abilities as the reward. 1. Will resistance. Ability. Plus 35% abnormal mental state resistance. Cost none. Cooldown. 160s. 2. Calm and composed, talent, plus 200 INT, plus 200 MYS. 3. Energy manipulation mastery, talent, minus 25% energy. 4. Strengthening mental barrier, talent, plus 120% mental damage resistance, plus 50% abnormal mental state resistance. 5. Squeezing energy recovery, ability, consumes 20,000 to 50,000 HP, recovers the same amount of energy, and temporarily reduces energy cost by 15%. Cooldown, 330s. Since Hades was a psychic, most of the abilities he had drawn were related to the mental state. This was within Han Zhao's expectations. Since he did not get any powerful abilities, Han Xiao was not discouraged. He took it as a last resort. Picking the best out of the worst, he directly chose strengthening mental barrier. In terms of effect alone, this ability was not bad. It could be considered a high-level mental ability. Over the years, Han Xiao had consciously made up for his shortcomings in mental state and had accumulated a lot of resistance. However, when he saw the Kisui character summon card just now, he knew that his current mental resistance was still not enough in front of someone of Kisui's level. Now that he had obtained a new mental resistance ability with excellent effects, it could be considered as making up for the gap. After calming himself down, Han Xiao continued to draw the ability of the next person. Hint: Tolian is a mage. Some of the available abilities have been automatically adjusted according to your class. Randomizing complete. Please select one from the following 5 abilities as the reward. 1. Advanced Energy Sense, talent, greatly increases the ability to sense all kinds of energy. You can see more details that others cannot. 2. Magic Insulation, ability, when receiving magical attacks, the actual damage you receive is reduced by 22%. The duration of magical control skills on you is reduced by 17%. 3. Super Overload, talent, your body can withstand a stronger load. The effects of certain buff skills are extended on you. Plus 1,500 yen and plus 15% health. 4. Melee skills, talent. You have mastered a large number of melee skills. Your attacks can occasionally cause a cleave effect. Plus 34% melee damage, plus 20% critical hit, plus 28% block rate, plus 23% dodge rate, plus 300 DX. 5. Lightning Mastery, ability, greatly increases lightning and electromagnetic affinity. Sure enough, demons who don't learn melee skills aren't decent mages. Han Zhao's mouth twitched. Of these 5 options, Advanced Energy Sense was basically an essential ability for all beyond grade A mages. Any abnormal energy fluctuations could not escape their eyes. Magic Insulation and Super Overload were abilities for buff mages like Tolian. His body had to withstand a large number of enchantments to maintain the effect of the buff spells. Without much hesitation, Han Xiao directly chose Super Overload. This was the most suitable ability for him, and the buff was quite considerable. These 1,500 yen made up for the gap. As long as he took out a portion of his free attribute points and threw them into yen, he would be able to surpass the 15,000 mark. In the future, he would be able to obtain an additional God's trait transformation point every time he advanced. After this battle, Han Xiao discovered that the most important factor in widening the gap between peak beyond grade as was the degree of God's trait transformation. Although his way of leveling up was different from others, the more God's trait transformation points he had, the better. Han Xiao took a liking to this ability at first glance, mainly because of the effect of increasing his energy limit. His current energy was about 180,000. With this increase, he could immediately increase his energy by tens of thousands, which was one of the abilities that he was in dire need of. Not only did it increase the limit of his energy points, but it also increased his energy level by at least 1 level, which was equivalent to a few thousand attribute points. This talent was a percentage increase, and the better the foundation, the better the effect. It was a growth talent, and the way he saw it, it was almost as good as half a molding talent. Furthermore, cell activity was related to his lifespan, so this talent might even have a +1's hidden effect. The fourth choice was Jackernet's. His class matched, so he could draw even more abilities. As a mechanic, mechanical pugilists tended to use machinery to fight, and they were proficient in using tools, so they had many unique talents. Although this talent was a mechanic class ability, under normal circumstances, only mechanical pugilists could awaken it. Because it was also a mechanic talent, it was chosen by Han Xiao. Many of the abilities of mechanical pugilists directly increased their utilization of machinery. Obtaining this ability would increase his strength tremendously, and the melee damage of the Mech Legion would skyrocket. Furthermore, Han Xiao had tested it before. The mechanical deity was a special type of combined machinery, but because the core of the combined machinery had to be the main body or the Lord's avatar, it was a mechanical equipment item on the interface, which meant that it could share the bonuses of mechanical equipment. This way, the actual combat strength of the mechanical deity would receive a terrifying bonus, and its power would increase by a level. Under normal conditions, the mechanical deity would have the combat strength of double mechanical sense mode. This is good stuff. If I can obtain the unique talents of mechanical pugilists and launchers, the combat strength of my Mech Legion will probably increase by a few levels. Han Xiao rubbed his hands together, his heart itching. Randomizing complete. 1. Energy Shock. Ability. Use energy to shock the opponent, causing the opponent to enter a temporary state of stiffness. 2. Microscopic Molt. Ability. Refresh yourself, dispel all negative statuses. Cooldown, 400s. 3. Energy Backflow. Talent. Every time you hit the target in melee, you can recover 40% of the energy used in the attack while dealing normal damage. 4. Block Penetration. Talent. Even if the target blocks your melee attack, they will still receive 30% to 80% of the damage. Chapter 1067. Seeing the 5 abilities that Garutin had extracted, Han Xiao was slightly stunned. Polar Dao Style. There were countless martial arts schools in the universe, and most of the martial arts skills of the Polar Dao Style were explosive abilities, which reflected the terrible public security environment of that era. Of course, it was also possible that the founder of the Polar Dao Style had a special liking for fighting style that dealt damage to the enemy at the cost of 800. High-level pugilists were all grandmasters, so it was not surprising that they knew the techniques of the Polar Dao Style school. The ability of the Tyrant's character summon card was Polar Dao Style Cell Overdrive, and the ability that he had extracted from Garutin was Blood Rage. The effects of the two were quite similar, but the former used one's potential in exchange for combat power, while the latter burned one's current health. Compared to ordinary people, although the explosive power of Cell Overdrive damaged one's potential, it did not have any immediate negative effects. It only added to one's current combat power. However, Blood Rage required continuous burning of one's health. If one's recovery rate could not keep up, they would be heavily injured if they used it for too long. It was not suitable for a prolonged battle, as the enemy might notice its flaws and deliberately delay it. Han Xiao guessed that this was the reason why Garutin did not use this move on him. After all, new mechanics like him were famous for their endurance. However, this ability is just right for me. Han Xiao's eyes sparkled. His recovery rate was like a perpetual motion machine, and even Beast Ancestor could not compare to it. Burning one's health was a piece of cake for him, and if used properly, it could become a stable, explosive ability in his hands. In comparison, although Microscopic Molt and Block Penetration were not bad, they were not as valuable as Blood Rage. Without the one-time character summon card of Cell Overdrive, I've exchanged it for a long-term, stable, explosive ability. TSK, this feels good. Han Xiao smacked his lips, overjoyed. Even if the explosive effect of Blood Rage was lower than Cell Overdrive, he could accept it. It was a huge gain. At this moment, Han Xiao only wanted to raise his hands and praise Fu Ding. Oh, and Nero, you have received Polar Dao-style Blood Rage. The new abilities extracted from the 5 Beyond grade has immediately affected Han Xiao's body, changing every cell in his body. Who? An intense pain swept through his entire body, and it took a while before it gradually subsided. Han Xiao had already adapted to the pain of rapid evolution. He exhaled and felt the changes in his body. My energy is obviously much more plentiful. This is the effect of Wumra's cell activity expansion. My physique is much stronger, as if I have taken off an invisible weight. This should be the effect of Tolian's superload. My willpower is slightly stronger, which comes from Hades' mental barrier strengthening. The mechanical force in my body is more sensitive, and my control is more detailed. This is the effect of Jackernet's machinery control master. Han Xiao went through the changes in his body and felt refreshed. A new notification popped up on the interface. The rescue of Hela had created a new dungeon. Han Xiao did not need to look to know that the challenge level of this dungeon was probably even higher than the battle on Planet Lighthouse. To the players, it could only be seen from afar and not played. After reading the notification, Han Xiao looked at the mission list. At this time, the mission, the rescue of Hela, had disappeared, which meant that the reward had been calculated. Han Xiao curiously tested the effect of Polar Dao-style Blood Rage. This ability allowed him to customize the amount of health he burned. The upper limit was not shown, but it could not be less than 1% of his maximum health per second. He activated the skill according to the minimum limit. Boom! A blood-red halo suddenly bloomed in front of Han Xiao's chest, where his heart was, and spread out like ripples. The next moment, he felt as if all the blood in his body was boiling. Bright red blood steam spurted out from his body, and the reaction was very intense. It looked like burning blood flames wrapped around his body. At a glance, those who did not know might mistake this for red pugilist flames. This blood-red steam was the blood energy obtained by burning his life force. In Han Zhao's perception, waves of new energy were constantly being generated in his body along with the eruption of the blood energy. He summoned a mirror and took a look at himself. He saw that his current appearance was poles apart from his usual calm and masculine temperament. Under the contrast of the blood-colored steam, his entire person was filled with a fierce aura, appearing evil and violent. However, his own emotions were not affected. Looking at the feedback on the interface, Han Xiao thought to himself, the explosive bonus of Blood Rage is mainly based on attack power and ability strength. It's more of an attack type and is somewhat different from the overall bonus of Cell Overdrive. After deactivating Blood Rage, a sense of weakness suddenly appeared, but it disappeared after a while. In order to understand his combat strength again, Han Xiao tested his new abilities from different angles. After that, he stopped and nodded in satisfaction. A lot of EXP for random rewards, 1 blank character summon card, for powerful character summon cards, and 5 good abilities. I'm rich. Han Xiaoxin was in a good mood. The difficulty of the mission was extremely high, but the rewards were also quite bountiful. His combat strength had increased by quite a bit, and he even had a few new trump cards. Suppressing his excitement, Han Xiao stopped smiling and thought about the practical impact of this matter. The change in the views of the major organizations toward him was nothing more than more attention and fear. During the time he rushed back, more organizations had expressed their goodwill, and some of the organizations that were secretly stirring up trouble had stopped their little tricks. The Limitless Financial Group was showing such signs. Overall, the effect of establishing dominance was very good. The Black Star Corps' position in the universe had been consolidated, dominating the headlines, and their prestige was unparalleled. Han Zhao's goal had been achieved, including the players. More and more people submitted applications to join the Black Star Corps. The officers in charge of this area had been working overtime day and night to deal with the recruitment matters. It was foreseeable that the size of the army would welcome a peak of growth in the coming days. Radiance and Ethereal are probably thinking about exchanging captives. Soon, they will be able to exchange for a large amount of resources. Han Xiao nodded. Of course, he did not plan to keep those 4 beyond Grade A allies of the universal civilizations. Keeping them in his hands could not be used or eaten, and they were just a few hot potatoes. Exchanging them for benefits was the best way. However, this time, he would not hand them over so easily. No matter what, he had to make things difficult for Radiance and Ethereal and make them apologize publicly. Otherwise, they would not be able to take them away. Speaking of which, Kasui's suggestion is not impossible to consider. Sell Radiance's people to Ethereal and let them fight each other. Han Shao scratched his chin and rolled his eyes. Garutan would not receive such treatment, so Han Shao planned to keep him. He had also paid attention to the Beast Ancestors' forces. After the fall of the boss, the forces had indeed become chaotic. They had split into several factions and were planning to split up. There was a lot of internal strife, and many outside forces were eyeing the inheritance left behind by the Beast Ancestor. They were ready to divide this fat piece of meat at any time. Should I get involved in this as well? After all, I was the one who defeated Beast Ancestor. There's no reason for me to kill a pig and let others eat its meat. Han Shao pondered. The possible reactions of the various organizations appeared in his mind one after another and were quickly analyzed by his big-picture thinking. This time, an idea flashed through his mind, and the more he thought about it, the more feasible it was. Han Zhao's eyes slowly lit up, and an inexplicable smile appeared on his face. If the Red Empire's reaction is really as I think, then after some time, I think I can go find Sorokin and extort him. Han Shao had previously announced to the outside world that he was going into seclusion to recuperate. On one hand, it was to make the statement that he had burned his potential more believable, and on the other hand, it was to leave some free time to do some things. There were few things he needed to do. The first was to deal with the aftermath of this matter, such as dealing with the captives, dealing with the Empire, dividing up Beast Ancestor's legacy, and so on. The second was to use the recuperation time to repair the Mech Legion that had been damaged in this battle, which was not a small project. He also had to create the Emperor's cape and optimize the carrier of the mysterious energy host. The third was to respond to Manison and Kasui's kindness and start building a communication platform for the Beyond Grade A United Front with the help of the Black Star Corps' huge organization in the Flickering World. The last thing was to take aims to the secondary dimension and capture the Primal Chaos Mysterious Energy's old friend, the Holy Light Particle. Looks like there are a lot of things to do, Han Shao thought to himself. However, after this battle, I won't have to worry about the development of the Black Star Corps for a long time, so I'll have a lot of time to do my own things. After making some plans in his mind, Han Shao put away his thoughts and walked out of the room. After returning to Touch Ding, he went straight to the training ground to settle the rewards. He did not have the time to properly greet the many officers, so he went straight to the office and told Philip to gather the corps officers. Han Shao walked into the office. Everyone was already waiting there, and Ames followed. Logically speaking, this was an internal matter of the army, and outsiders were not allowed to enter. However, Ames's relationship was not ordinary, so no one was stupid enough to stop her from watching. You're finally willing to come back? You really know how to order people around. Ames leaned against the wall, tilted her head, and looked at Han Shao with a faint smile. Cough, cough. I have something to do. Han Shao was helpless. He invited Ames to the Black Star Palace just to be safe. He did not expect that it would really come in handy and help them defeat Traveler. Don't forget what you promised me. Ames raised her eyebrows slightly. After I'm done with the things at hand, I'll go on a trip with you. Han Shao nodded. Okay, then I won't disturb you guys anymore. Ames looked at Hela one last time, turned around, and left the room. Although no one chased her away, she knew her place. She would not stay there and listen to the internal affairs of the Black Star Corps. Han Shao returned to his seat and sat down. He first looked at Hela. After some time, you'll still be in charge of the frontline exploration. I'll build something new for you. It'll be the mecha that sent you back this time. With it, you won't have to be afraid of being surrounded again. Okay, Hela had no objections. Has the dynasty contacted you recently? Hela shook her head. No. Then I'll remind you first. If they use me as an excuse to make you join the dynasty, come over and discuss it with me first. Don't agree rashly. Don't worry, I know. Han Shao nodded and asked curiously. By the way, How's your connection with Aurora? It's already stable. Hela paused and said, however, I can still sense the existence of that special secondary dimension. Can you bring me on a trip to the secondary dimension this time? I want to take a look. I'm afraid I can't this time. After I go out, someone has to be in the army. Han Xiao shook his head and added, I'll go with you next time. Hearing this, Hela nodded to show that she understood. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She seemed to be in a good mood. After chatting for a while, Han Xiao looked at the other officers and glanced at Fu Ding with admiration. After making him feel uncomfortable, Han Xiao stopped smiling and told them to report on their work. Sylvia, Haluz, Reynold, and the others summarized their work during this period. During the reporting process, many Calamity-grade officers could not help but secretly size up Han Xiao. This wave of results also shocked many officers. Many of them admired, respected, and were even more loyal to Han Xiao. After listening to everyone's report, Han Xiao nodded and said, the situation is very good now. After this incident, the Black Star Corps will have a much smoother time in the flickering world. No one will casually test us anymore. Next, expand your recruitment. After this, the army might welcome some huge business opportunities. Be prepared. Han Xiao reminded them of the things to pay attention to in the development of the army. Seeing everyone nod, he suddenly thought of Evans. Evans had also returned with the spaceship that transported the throne. Han Xiao asked Philip to arrange a place for him to stay and hide him. Before Evans, this secret weapon grew to a certain level, Han Xiao would not let it be exposed in front of others. Putting away this thought, Han Xiao leaned back in his chair and said, that's all. If there are no more questions, you can go back. Sylvia said, by the way, there's something you need to deal with. A great director wants to meet you. Han Xiao was stunned. Great director? Who is it? Manison? Seeing Han Xiao's confused expression, Sylvia explained. He's the famous master director Bennett Laver from the Red Empire. He wants to obtain your authorization to shoot a documentary about you. That's interesting. Han Xiao's interest was piqued. In the galactic society where resources were not lacking, the influence of the entertainment industry was very large. A famous galactic star might be sought after by billions of people in countless civilizations. Fu Ding was once a regional star. A great galactic director like Bennett Laver was extremely famous and influential. He enjoyed an extraordinary position in the industry and was considered a well-known figure in the entire universe. However, the entertainment industry and an armed warlord like him were people from two different worlds. He did not know why this person wanted to shoot a documentary with him on a whim. Could it be the effect of the universe legendary points? Han Xiao thought about it and replied, okay, arrange a time to meet with him. Okay, I'll contact him personally. Sylvia nodded. Han Xiao nodded and glanced at everyone. Seeing that no one spoke, he said, is there anything else? If not, the meeting is adjourned. At this time, Hela suddenly thought of something. She took out a small box from her arms, placed it on the table, and pushed it in front of Han Xiao with two slender fingers. Han Xiao looked down. It was a red box with a ribbon tied to it, like a gift. He could not help but look up at Hela in confusion. Today is your birthday. This is a birthday gift for you, an amulet. Remember to wear it, Hela said softly. Han Xiao was stunned. It's only February. My birthday is not today, it's October. Oh, I understand. This should be the original owner's birthday. When I was at Blue Star, the German organization must have investigated me. Hela probably saw the original owner's birth file. Understanding this, Han Xiao swallowed the words at the tip of his tongue, put away the gift, and said with a smile, thank you. I didn't expect you to remember. I remember everything about you. Hela lowered her eyes. After saying this, she did not wait for Han Xiao's reply and left the room. The officers around looked back and forth between the two of them. They all had meaningful looks in their eyes and left one after another. Only Han Xiao was left in the room. He played with the gift box for a while before gently opening it to reveal the item inside. A small dark gold coin lay quietly in the box. A thin silver chain passed through the coin and made into a necklace. Han Xiao picked up the coin and suddenly felt a special energy on it. It had the aura of both Hela's power of the dead and Aurora's Esper ability. Han Xiao had a flash of inspiration. He opened the interface and looked at Hela's character summon card. If I'm not wrong, this coin is the carrier of some kind of ability, and this ability is probably Hela's newly awakened ability. No wonder it's called the amulet. Did she give me a resurrection token? The character summon card did not reflect the restrictions and consumption of Hela's ability, but Han Xiao estimated that Hela would not casually give the opportunity to resurrect to an outsider. It should cost a lot. Han Xiao put the amulet around his neck, stood up, and walked to the window, looking out at the scenery of Black Star Palace. If Hela had not suddenly mentioned it, he would not have thought of it at all. After so many years in Galaxy, this seemed to be the first time someone celebrated his birthday for him. Although the birthday of the original body was not on the same day as his own, Han Xiao still felt an inexplicable sense of melancholy. Once the floodgates opened, the memories could not be stopped. The scenes of the past came one after another, as if it was a lifetime ago. Birthday! There was a soft sigh in the room. P.S. Originally, I was short of a lot of character Starlight points to hold the birthday event 2 days ago. Thank you, Big Boss 3 important things, for your generosity yesterday, allowing Han Xiao to celebrate his birthday this year. Also, thank you to all the brothers who have been sending gifts to Han Xiao. There have been a lot of big bosses sending gifts recently, but my production is limited. Normally, I can only write 400 to 500 words a day. Even if you whip me with a whip, I can't write too fast because our models are different. Some people can easily release chapters with quality and quantity, but some people can't guarantee the direction of the plot once they release chapters. I belong to the latter type. At this point, I can't just release chapters whenever I want to. If it was at the beginning, where there were infinite possibilities and direction, and my condition was good, then I could write faster. But the plot has developed to a certain point, and there are too many clues tangled together, and I have to consider the rhythm of my writing every day. Plus, there are the occasional visits from my period, so a writer like me can't help but slow down. Although brothers often say that I'm not good at writing, every page has a different point. It's just that the person who gets the point is different every time. It's just like how some people like to look at data, while others don't. It's hard to get everyone to agree, and I can't do anything about it. I can only say that brothers should be more tolerant. Finally, thank you all for your kindness. Chapter 1068. Emerald Star Cluster, Beast Ancestors Stronghold Planet. Two fleets that also had the Beast Ancestors emblem were facing each other outside the atmosphere. The situation was clear at a glance. The smaller fleet wanted to leave the stronghold, but was blocked by the defense fleet. In the command ship of the defense fleet, Byram looked at the defector fleet that was ready for battle. He opened the public channel and shouted, "Jatina, do you know what you're doing? You're defecting." As soon as he said that, the figure of a female creature appeared on the screen in front of him. She had wheat-colored skin, a seductive face, and black beast stripes between her eyebrows and the corners of her eyes. She looked like a leopard, and there were a few white stripes on both sides of her cheeks, like the whiskers of a feline. She was dressed in a wild outfit, showing off her astonishing figure and giving off a wild sense of beauty. At this moment, this woman had a determined look on her face, and her tone was resolute. "Garutan has fallen, and we've decided to go. If you want to stop us, you can try." Looking at the woman on the screen, Byram sighed inwardly. This person was called Jatina, and she had a certain beast bloodline. She was one of the 4 great generals under Beast Ancestor, similar to the Vanguard official and Han Zhao's Black Star Guards. She was an ace combatant, and her strength was among the best among her brothers and sisters. She was a beyond grade A seed, and many of her brothers and sisters were afraid of her. However, many people knew that Jatina was from the rebel faction and had always hated Garutan. On the other hand, Garutan did not care if his children hated him. His children were just tools to him. As long as he was alive, he was not afraid of others escaping his control. He had relied on his own strength to maintain control of his forces. After his fall, The internal structure immediately fell apart. When a tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Today, Jatina had gathered a large number of members of the rebel faction and decided to leave Beast Ancestors organization, which led to the current confrontation. Byram belonged to the neutral faction and was not fanatically loyal to Garuten. He sighed and said, "We are all brothers and sisters. Why do we have to kill each other? Right now, Lord Father has only been captured by accident, but he might return in the future. Why don't you stay and let us get through this crisis together?" Jatina shouted, "Shut up. I've been looking forward to this day for too long. If you don't let us go today, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Byram was silent. He turned to look at the loyalists' indignant expressions and secretly shook his head. He ordered, "Let them go." Without an overwhelming power to restrain so many experts, Beast Ancestors' forces were currently in a state of disunity. Everyone was in a state of panic, and Byram wasn't willing to fight with Jotina's group. However, the loyalists were not happy. In their eyes, Jatina and the others were ingrates who immediately jumped out to separate from the family when their father was in trouble. They should be severely punished. Although Byram was the commander, many officers of the other factions disobeyed him and suddenly opened fire, starting a chaotic battle. Battleships were destroyed one after another, and fireworks lit up the universe. The figures of the Calamity grades shuttled back and forth, fighting fiercely. After a long time, the battle finally ended. A large number of battleship wreckages floated outside the planet's atmosphere. After paying a terrible price, the defected fleet finally succeeded in breaking through. Beast Ancestors' loyalists also suffered heavy losses. A few of their officers were killed by Jatina on the spot, so they did not continue to chase. Father is gone, and there will be other beyond Grade A organizations come and take us in. These loyalists will be dealt with sooner or later. I'd better find a way out as soon as possible." Byram looked at the mess everywhere and sighed. He knew that the Beast Ancestors organization was about to become history. On the other side, we finally escaped. They didn't chase after us. In the command ship that was full of battle scars, Jatina leaned against the wall. She looked exhausted and was riddled with wounds. Blood flowed continuously, forming a pool of blood below her. Around her sat many officers who had defected together. They had just experienced a fierce battle, and everyone had injuries on their bodies. They were bandaging each other's wounds. A Calamity-grade officer helped his comrade sew up the wounds of his comrade and turned to look at Jatina. "Big sister, where do we go next?" Because Jatina was the initiator and was the strongest, she was recognized as the leader of this defected army. Escaping is only the first step. Don't forget our goal. We can't do it alone. We have to join a large organization, Jatina said while panting. "Which organization should we join?" "Whoever kills Garuten will join." Jatina struggled to stand up, turned to look out the porthole, and muttered to herself, "Black Star is someone worth trusting." A few days later, at the Black Star Palace's spaceport. "I've already disturbed you for quite some time. It's time to leave today. Thank you for your help." Ening stood in front of the spaceship's cabin door, nodded, and expressed his gratitude to Han Shao. He had used the evolution cube some time ago, and then he had been a guest in the Black Star Corps. He had been in contact with Han Shao, and their relationship had warmed up quite a bit. They had upgraded from acquaintances to good friends. After staying for a few days, he still had things to do. Thus, he bid farewell and left today. Han Shao had specially come to send him off. "All right, I won't keep you any longer. There's still a long way to go. Come and play with me when you're free." Han Shao smiled. Ening nodded and shook hands with Han Shao. He then led a group of subordinates onto the spaceship and closed the hatch. The thrusters spewed out flames, and the spaceship accelerated in the blink of an eye. It rushed out of the spaceport's orbit, turned into a stream of light, and quickly disappeared into the universe. Han Shao watched the spaceship leave and nodded with satisfaction. During this period of private interaction, his progress in conquering Ening had increased by a lot. With how much the other party owed him, he could borrow the spaceship at least 3 more times. Han Shao turned around and left the dock. He returned to his office and summoned Philip. Any news from the three universal civilizations? Not yet, hum. It's been so many days. They should be contacting me by now. Han Xiao shook his head. He had been waiting for Radiance and Ethereal to contact him these past few days. It seemed like these two were still considering what attitude they should use to contact him, so no one had called yet. During the battle on Planet Lighthouse, he had handed the captives over to the Dynasty, and the Dynasty had come forward to negotiate. This time, the captives were basically captured alone, and his own strength had reached a new level. Therefore, Han Xiao told the Dynasty that he would personally negotiate with Radiance and Ethereal. At this time, Philip suddenly paused and reported, "Master, there's a new communication request from the Arcane Church." "Oh, speak of the devil." Han Xiao perked up and had Philip connect. Very soon, a remote projection appeared in the room. This was the Ethereal senior official in charge of diplomacy. As soon as he appeared, he bowed to Han Xiao with a respectful attitude. "Your Excellency Black Star, I'm a diplomat from the Arcane Church. First of all, I apologize on behalf of Ethereal for this operation. Let's cut the small talk and get down to business." Han Xiao put his hands on his nose and stared at the Ethereal diplomat in front of him, saying in a deep voice, "If you want to get Tolian back, it depends on how sincere you are. I emphasize that the compensation terms must include a condition for your public apology." Hearing this, the Ethereal diplomat blinked and whispered, "That's easy, but we can put the matter of Tolian aside for now. I want to talk about Radiance's captive." Han Xiao raised his eyebrows. The Arcane Church was not in a hurry to redeem their own man, Tolian. Instead, they wanted to get a captive from Radiance first. Although he could understand Ethereal's approach, Han Xiao could not help but complain in his heart. Tolian was too difficult. Shaking his head, Han Xiao asked, "Ethereal wants to buy a beyond grade A captive from Radiance. Not just one, but the more the better. I'm sure His Excellency Kasui has told you that Ethereal wants to get a bargaining chip to exchange for the 10,000 deity scepter. Your Excellency Blackstar, we are very sincere this time and are willing to offer a very high price." "How high?" Han Xiao raised his eyebrows. "These are our initial conditions." The diplomat brought up a list and showed it to him. Han Xiao quickly skimmed through it. Not only did the terms include a huge amount of resources as compensation, but Ethereal was also willing to take out non-strategic universal treasures to exchange for the captive. The conditions were quite generous. However, he would not agree so easily. He pretended to ponder for a while before slowly saying, "If I sell you a captive from Radiance, I will have to bear the pressure from Radiance. Is that all? It doesn't seem to be enough. Why don't you take the initiative to state the conditions, and we'll—" Han Xiao snorted and interrupted the other party's words. "Think about it yourselves. Change the terms until I'm satisfied." He did not take the initiative to raise the conditions because he wanted to use Radiance and Ethereal to wear down the other party. Otherwise, he was afraid that they would not learn their lesson, and at the same time, it would not be good for public opinion. "All right, we'll change the terms later. Then, are you not going to refuse to sell Radiance's captives?" the Ethereal diplomat asked. "Depend on my mood." Han Xiao's attitude was ambiguous. Seeing that Han Xiao was stubborn, the Ethereal diplomat had no choice but to go offline and report to the upper echelons. As soon as he left, Radiance's communication request came. How could it be so coincidental? This pair of fellow sufferers is quite fated. Han Xiao mumbled to himself before connecting to the Federation's communication. "Hello, Your Excellency Blackstar. I'm Radiance's. All right, I know who you are. Cut the crap and show me the terms of your ransom." The Radiance diplomat choked and swallowed the lines he had thought of back into his stomach. He could only obediently show the terms. Looking at the list, Han Xiao secretly shook his head. Radiance's price was not as good as the Arcane Church's. After all, they were only ransoming the captives normally. Radiance was as sneaky as ever. They had lost 3 people, and they still did not want to spend a lot of money. They were really ugly, but in their dreams. A toad wanting to eat a swan's leg. "One word, bah." Han Xiao narrowed his eyes, tapped his finger on the table, and slowly said, Just now, people from the arcane church contacted me and proposed an interesting condition. What condition? They want to buy radiances beyond grade A captive from me. They're very willing to pay. Han Xiao looked at the other party meaningfully. Radiance's diplomat was shocked and hurriedly said, You didn't agree to it, did you? Well, I'm still thinking about it, but Ethereal's price is very tempting. You can't decide on your own and sell an important ally of Radiance to Ethereal, or else. Radiance's diplomat originally wanted to threaten him, but he realized that he was facing Black Star, who had just made them suffer. So he quickly changed his words and said weakly, Anyway, as long as you don't agree to Ethereal's request, we will definitely do something. That depends on your sincerity. How much are you willing to pay to make me reject Ethereal's proposal? Han Xiao smiled faintly. Understood. Understood. I'll immediately pass on your message to the higher-ups and change the compensation terms immediately. Radiance's diplomat wiped his sweat and hurriedly went offline. He knew that Black Star was raising the price, but he had no choice. Even if he saw through it, he could only obediently do as he was told. He felt helpless and depressed. After sending his two stinky brothers away, Han Xiao leaned back in his seat and chuckled. If it were in the past, doing so would have been very risky. However, after this battle, he had shown enough strength and power. Only then could the Federation and the Church sit down and negotiate with peace of mind, instead of continuing to plot against him. With a few captives in his hands, he had room to ask for more. Even if it was clear that he wanted Radiance and Ethereal to compete with each other, they would have to accept it. This feeling of being in control was indeed wrong. Han Xiao laughed in his mind. Just as he was thinking, his communicator rang again. Han Xiao looked at it and saw that it was a call from Sylvia. Army Commander, the Galactic Erector I told you about a few days ago has arrived at Black Star Palace. So fast. They were originally in the Flickering World. I've already sent someone to receive them. Will you bring them directly to the guest room later? I'll go meet him. Han Xiao stood up. A civilian spaceship docked at the dock outside Black Star Palace, and a group of people walked down from the spaceship. The leader was an old man with a big beard. His head was round, and he looked rich. He had long hair that gave off an artistic vibe. This person was the Galactic Director from the Red Empire, Bennett Laver. Once they got off the spaceship, everyone looked around cautiously and whispered, This is the base of the Black Star Corps. Are these people mercenaries? They're all looking at us. Lower your voice. Hearing the chatter of his assistants behind him, Bennett Laver frowned and whispered, This is not any other place. Don't talk nonsense. Think about the consequences if you offend Black Star's people. Hearing this, everyone hurriedly shut their mouths and put on a cautious look. They had followed Bennett Laver for a long time and could be considered senior in the entertainment industry. Who knew how many people tried to curry favor with them? Although they were not arrogant, they were still arrogant. If they were facing the younger generation in the entertainment industry, they would be even more arrogant. However, these people did not dare put on airs there. The Black Star Corps was a super warlord at the top. They were on a completely different level. Now that they had come to the nest of an armed warlord, they naturally felt afraid. They knew very well that their little influence was nothing in front of these big shots who had real power and armed forces. Everyone put away their usual airs and behaved with their tails between their legs. Not long after, an army receptionist walked over and said with a smile, Hello, Director Bennett Laver. Please follow me. The Army Commander is already waiting for you. Okay, please lead the way. Bennett Traval put on a smile. Seeing this, the assistants around were secretly surprised. They knew their boss too well. He had always been arrogant and rarely showed such a warm and flattering smile. The group came all the way to the reception room. When they walked into the room, they saw Han Xiao sitting on the main seat. They hurriedly saluted and greeted him one after another. Bennett Laver hurriedly reached out his hand to Han Xiao and said warmly, Hello, sir. Your Excellency Black Star, thank you for being willing to meet with me. No need to be so polite. Sit down. Han Xiao shook his hand and invited everyone to sit down. The group sat down one after another, straightened their backs, and leaned their butts against the edge of the chair. They did not dare to sit down and were extremely cautious. At the same time, everyone stared at Han Xiao in awe and respect, showing a stiff and flattering smile. Many of them were people with status, but they could only smile at this time. Han Xiao shook his head. Status was a halo. Even if he did not do anything, others could not help but feel nervous. He turned to look at Bennett Laver and asked with a smile, "Director Bennett, I heard that you want to shoot a documentary about me." "That's right. I've seen your file. You started from nothing and rose to the top of the galaxy. You're a living legend. Those deeds have inspired my creative desire. It would be my honor to shoot an adapted biopic for a big shot like you." Bennett Laver did not follow the procedure and directly bragged, explaining his creative motivation. When it came to the exciting part, he even stood up and gestured with his hands excitedly. His face was flushed with excitement. Han Xiao observed for a while and found that this director was not there to flatter. It seemed that he had really inspired his creative desire and wanted to adapt his deeds. It should be the effect of the accumulation of legendary points. It was not surprising. In the eyes of outsiders, his deeds were indeed legendary. It was normal to be seen by the director. Originally, many films were adapted from real people. It was common for directors to come to seek permission from the original story. After being praised for a while, Han Xiao was quite comfortable. He waved his hand, interrupted the speech of the director, and said, "So, you came here just to ask me to give you authorization to shoot a film about me?" "It's more than that." Bennett Laver suddenly became nervous. "I have another request. I hope you can appear as an Easter egg in the film." It took courage to say this because he knew very well that Black Star status was too high. When the warlord level reached a certain level, he would become a political figure. This was like asking the head of state of the empire to make a guest appearance in a film. Hearing this, Han Xiao narrowed his eyes, tapped his fingers slowly on the table, and did not answer immediately. With the change of his expression, the atmosphere instantly dropped to the freezing point. Everyone's heart beat faster and faster, and they did not dare to breathe. The room suddenly became so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Han Xiao was about to speak, but at this moment, a mission notification suddenly popped up on the interface. Director's invitation, mission introduction. A famous director in the universe has taken a fancy to you and hopes to invite you to participate in the shooting of a film. Mission requirements. Act in the film. Reward. 1,800,000 experience. Random increase in popularity in various star fields. Special reward. Star effect. Talent. Star effect. It is easier for others to have a good impression of you and forgive you more easily. Seeing this, Han Zhao's mouth twitched. "What? Do you want me to debut?" Chapter 1069. Han Xiao did not reject the suggestion of being a guest star in the movie. After all, he was not the main lead, so it would not take up much time. Furthermore, interstellar technology was very advanced, and it did not take long to make a movie. There were many ways to watch it. One could watch it from a traditional third-party perspective, or one could watch it from a first-person perspective. One could even take the perspective of the character in a movie and follow his actions. With the change in technology, there were more and more ways to express the movie. The celebrity effect, talent, did not have a quantitative introduction, but Fu Ding had this ability. It was related to the charm attribute, and not only was it easier to gain favorability, even if he did something that offended others, it was not easy to reduce the favorability of the target. It was very fitting for the name of this talent. The effects of the talent seemed a little vague, but Han Xiao knew that this thing was actually very useful. It could be used in business negotiations or daily communication. It was an extremely useful skill. Even if the reward of the mission was not taken into account, this matter itself was beneficial. At present, his prestige was unparalleled, but the popularity of the news would decrease with time. Furthermore, with such an amazing battle record in front of him, it would be difficult for some ordinary deeds to continue to increase his influence and popularity. Using the entertainment industry to continue to increase his popularity was a feasible way. After all, the entertainment industry had a unique advantage in terms of attention. This would not hurt his image, and it could even increase the outside world's understanding of him. Furthermore, This seemed very suitable for preaching. That old thing Manison, definitely won't be able to lower his face to be as flirtatious as me. Could this be a roundabout way to save the country? Under the nervous gaze of Benny Travolta and the others, Han Xiao pretended to ponder for a while before finally nodding. Okay, that's great. Benny Travolta was overjoyed. He had thought that he would most likely be rejected, but he did not expect Han Xiao to be so friendly. The tense atmosphere dissipated, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. What followed was excitement. They had actually managed to invite a big shot like Black Star. It was like a dream. When are you guys going to start the project? Han Xiao asked. We need to familiarize ourselves with the script first, because it's based on your real-life experience. If possible, I hope you can provide some details. We might even need to organize a few interviews. What do you think? Benny Travolta requested softly. That's easy, as long as I'm free. Han Xiao smiled. Okay. Once we finish the script, we'll hand it over to you for review. We'll only start filming after you approve. Yes. Han Xiao nodded. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked, Do you guys have any problems with funds? Don't worry about that. I still have a certain amount of influence in the entertainment industry. Moreover, this is your story, so there will definitely be a lot of people rushing to invest in it. Perhaps the Ministry of Culture of the Red Empire will also invest in it. Benny Travolta was quite confident. All right, if you have any problems with funds, come to me. I'll sponsor you. Han Xiao waved his hand. If they were going to take a picture, it would be a Sino-American picture. Oh no, a red and black picture. Hearing this, Benny Travolta was greatly moved. Look, no wonder he's a warlord. He's so forthright. He secretly made up his mind to make this movie a good one. Not only did he have to take into account the artistic content, but he also had to sell it well. After being a director for many years, Benny Travolta had produced both great and failed works. He took the money from investors and called it pursuing art, but in the end he couldn't recoup the cost and had cheated many people. It didn't matter if the films of ordinary investors didn't do well. At most, they would lose some reputation and money. However, if the film sponsored by the Black Star Corps didn't do well, he would lose his life. He didn't dare to be careless. With the huge population base in the interstellar era, the efficiency of the entertainment industry was beyond imagination. Occasionally, there would even be a movie that was praised by the entire universe. The income from one movie could match the total assets of several small financial groups. It was extremely terrifying. Han Xiao had no reason not to make a fortune. At this moment, he suddenly had an idea. All right, I also want to insert someone into the crew. Go ahead. Han Xiao pulled out Fu Ding's portrait and said with a smile, This is the person. He's one of my Black Star guards, a Calamity-grade super. He used to be a regional celebrity as well. You just need to arrange for him to play a role. This person, Benny Travolta's eyes widened. He did not mind Black Star inserting people into the crew. He had seen this kind of thing many times before. However, he did not expect the person to be a treasure this time. This figure, this temperament, he's practically a natural-born superstar. Looking at everyone's stunned expression, Han Xiaoxin laughed in his heart. He had a deep understanding of Fu Ding's charisma. Letting Fu Ding act in a movie would be enough to attract a lot of attention and make the publicity work twice the result with half the effort. Furthermore, Han Xiao did not forget Fu Ding's deeds in his previous life, Legend of the Singer. He had used psychic singing to calm the war. Therefore, in order to protect the love and peace of the universe, he decided to let Fu Ding make a comeback and become an idol. It was not a sudden decision, but an opportunity to let Fu Ding become the ambassador of the Black Star Corps. This would garner more attention and might even attract more talents. At the same time, it would also increase the stock price of the Germinal Financial Group. After many years of operations, the Germinal Financial Group had been successfully listed with the support of the army, and its assets were now huge. All kinds of thoughts flashed through his mind, but Han Xiao did not reveal them. He maintained a smile and chatted with the group. In the end, they decided to stay in the Black Star Palace for a while to gather materials. Benny Travolta and the others then bade farewell and left. Everyone's face was filled with joy. After sending them off, Han Xiao instructed Sylvia to be in charge of the follow-up. He then went to chat with Ames for a long time so that he would not neglect his old friend. Ames understood Han Xiao. She knew that he had a lot of things to deal with during this period, so she did not rush him. Anyway, Han Xiao and Hela were back. It was very comfortable to have someone to accompany her. She was so happy that she almost forgot about her home. Furthermore, there was nothing to do on Floating Dragon Island. What was the point of going back? What, you mean Jenny? Who is that? I've never heard of her before. Han Xiao returned to his room and took a shower out of habit. Steam rose from his body. He did not dry himself and directly wrapped himself in a bathrobe, humming a tune as he lay on the bed. Water droplets slid down his hair and wet the pillow. A beyond grade and naturally did not need to take a shower, but Han Xiao mainly enjoyed this feeling. At the same time, he adjusted his body temperature and regained the temperature of a normal person. Only then could he take a hot shower. Otherwise, even magma would be cold to him. A few mechanical pets crawled up and surrounded Han Xiao, rubbing their bodies against him. They were very clingy. There were cats, dogs, and even mechanical snakes. They were all mechanical life forms with independent thoughts. The corners of their metal bodies were removed, and they were very smooth. They did not need to eat or excrete, so it was easy to take care of them. Ever since Hela had given him a birthday present, Han Xiao had suddenly had the idea of keeping a pet, which made the usually quiet bedroom feel a little more lively. After casually playing with a few pets, Han Xiao held the back of his head with one hand, leaned back on the bed, opened the player forums, and browsed through the posts. The topic of Black Star's godlike battle had not yet died down. Instead, it was getting more and more popular. The Flickering World section was still being flooded. Not only were there discussions, but many players left their original factions and ran over to join the Black Star Corps, causing a new wave of growth in the army's new players. The one-sided faction war had been going on for some time. Due to the named enemy faction giving in, the army's opponents could not fight back at all. Not only did the dirty tricks of those foreign clubs not work, but they also shot themselves in the foot, causing their factions to lose a large number of ordinary players, which in turn increased the cohesion of the army's players. To a certain extent, the gap between the new and old players in the army was removed. Now, the atmosphere within the Black Star Corps was much better. Although the players of the various countries were not harmonious, they had accepted each other. On the forums, there was another matter that caused discussion. After Han Xiao formed the Rescue Hela Dungeon Crystal, he put in the faction store. Over the past few days, a large number of players had bought dungeon crystals and used their lives to admire the army commander. After unremitting efforts, there was already a famous dungeon raiding team that raised the survival record to 29 seconds, earning the admiration of countless players. Rescue Hela was also officially on par with Battle of Planet Lighthouse, and they were known as the two CG-type dungeons of the army. To explain, it was play your head, just watch and be done with it. Han Xiao happily browsed the forums for a while. Suddenly, he realized that Philip had sent a new message. Master, a fleet that betrayed Beast Ancestors organization has visited the frontline stronghold of the Free Competition Zone. Among them are 7 Calamity-grade officers under Beast Ancestor, and the leader is one of the 4 generals under Garutin, Claw, concubine Tatena. She wants to see you by name. See me? Han Xiao raised his eyebrows, closed the player forums, and quickly looked through Jotana's information. He did not know much about Garutin's subordinates. Most of them were tools, and only a few had left an impression on him in his previous life. Jotana was one of them, but it was not because of her achievements. In his previous life, Jotana had secretly colluded with other organizations and issued a mission to the players. She wanted to destroy all the offspring breeding warehouses in Beast Ancestors headquarters while Garutin was not home, freeing all the mothers that were imprisoned as breeding machines. Although the operation did not succeed, it still caused huge losses to Beast Ancestor. She originally wanted to use a psionic bomb to die together with Garutin, but it failed. In the end, she was torn apart by Garutin in front of everyone. Thinking of this, Han Xiao roughly guessed the purpose of this muscular woman's visit. Okay, I'll see her. In the Emerald Star Cluster, the Black Star frontline stronghold had already repaired the damage caused by the rescue of Hela, and the fleet was patrolling step by step. At this moment, the spaceship of Jatina and the others was welcomed into the dock. Due to the Beast Ancestors organization emblem on the exterior armor, they attracted the attention of all the army members on the way. The spaceship docked, and the hatch opened. Jatina and her companions walked out of the spaceship, ignoring the strange gazes of the army members around them, and followed the mechanical receptionist to the guest room. We're finally here. I wonder if Black Star will take us in. After all, we were enemies not long ago. Black Star is not someone without magnanimity. I'm just afraid that he won't like us. Jatina did not participate in the discussion. With a tense face, she followed the receptionist into the guest room. The room was empty. At this moment, Han Zhao's remote projection appeared in the room. With his hands behind his back, he scanned everyone with a cold gaze. You guys want to see me? That's right. We're all Beast Ancestors officers. We've been dissatisfied with him for a long time, but we couldn't resist. Now that you've defeated him, we're here to seek refuge with you, hoping to serve the Black Star Corps. Jatina did not bother with pleasantries. She stared straight at Han Zhao. Clearly, she was a straightforward girl. Although Han Zhao had some guesses, he could not help but think of an idiom. Is she acknowledging a thief as her father? Pooh, I'm not a thief. I'm clearly abandoning the darkness for the light. Han Zhao did not intend to reject. After all, 7 Calamity-grade officers were not a small force. Furthermore, Jatina was a rare beyond grade A seed with extraordinary potential. She could compete with his subordinates, Hardaway and Lothair. Of course, Han Zhao was happy to see such a high-quality leak take the initiative to uproot itself. However, he could not agree too easily. He still had to ask the usual questions. Why are you dissatisfied with Garutin? Hearing this, Jatina took a deep breath. Her face was filled with grief and indignation. In order to cultivate high-quality offspring, Garutin purchased countless female creatures from various races from the black market. They did not even have the freedom to die and could only serve as mothers. My mother was one of them. I watched her give birth to offspring one after another over the years before finally dying of exhaustion. The high-quality offspring were focused on nurturing, and the inferior ones were made slaves. Although we were related by blood, most people were indifferent to each other. That place was like a cold grave. Everyone could only please Garutin. There was not a day that I did not hate him. Jatina closed her eyes as if immersed in those sorrowful memories. After a while, she opened them again and said with a deep voice, My companions and I had the same experience. My companions and I had the same experience. We hated everything that Garutin had created, but we could only be manipulated by him and help him do evil. We lived in torment every day. We were not afraid of death, but only by enduring this pain and staying alive would we have a chance to change everything. Until you defeated him, we were finally free. As she said that, Jatina prostrated on the ground, and her companions followed suit. The entire group of people prostrated themselves on the ground and bowed to Han Zhao. We hope you can take us in. Jatina touched the ground with her forehead and shouted in a deep voice. She was very emotional. Please take us in. Everyone shouted in unison. Their voices were deafening and echoed in the room. Seeing this, Han Zhao pondered for a while and nodded. In that case, I will accept you as a member of the Black Star Corps. Hearing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief and stood up one after another. Jatina got up, and a smile appeared on her face again. Her expression changed from heavy to relaxed, as if the rain had washed away the dust, making her look beautiful and moving. Just like her wild temperament, her emotions were also exposed. Han Zhao nodded, and his tone became amiable. He said with a smile, Then we are all family now. Come to Black Star Palace. I want to see you with my own eyes and arrange positions for you. Also, if you want to see Garutin's specimen, you can also, at this time, Jatina interrupted Han Zhao. She stopped smiling and said seriously, Your Excellency Black Star, I have a gift and a request. Tell me about it. Han Zhao raised his eyebrows. Jatina nodded. Beast Ancestors' forces are in a state of disunity now. It's a good opportunity to divide them up. I am willing to help you obtain Beast Ancestors' inheritance. This is my gift. What about the request? I hope that you can destroy Beast Ancestors' base, completely destroy all the descendant breeding libraries, release all the mothers, and adopt all the young Beast Ancestors' descendants. This is both my request and my gift. Although I hate Garuten, these young descendants are innocent. Their thoughts are not formed yet, and they can still be molded. If they're nurtured well, they can become the fresh blood of the army. Jatina finished speaking resolutely and looked up at Han Xiao, as if she wanted to see the answer she was looking for from his eyes. Han Xiao opened the interface and took a look. As expected, he had triggered a mission, but it was not one but two. The first mission was liberate Beast Ancestors' forces. The content was the same as what Jatina had said. He needed to liberate Beast Ancestors' base, and the reward was Jatina's favorability and her character summon card. The End of Darkness Mission Introduction. Human trafficking is the source of countless tragedies. Jatina hates it, and destroying this phenomenon has always been her lifelong wish. Mission details. In the human trafficking phenomenon in Galaxy Reward, 10,000 billion experience, 15 random rewards, 3 universe legendary points, 5 blank character summon card special reward, Liberator of the Slaves, milestone Liberator of the Slaves. Your relationship with all the Order factions will always be reverence. 1 trillion experience. Han Xiao was stunned. This was the mission with the most ridiculous reward he had ever seen, but its difficulty was also through the roof. And the human trafficking of the entire universe? Judging from the population of the entire universe, this was an impossible mission. As the saying went, if there was no trade, there would be no killing, and if there was no demand, there would be no market. If even the 3 universal civilizations could not do it, who else could? No wonder Jatina only asked him to liberate Beast Ancestors' forces. She probably knew that this wish was impossible. Han Xiao naturally would not expose her. He shook his head, put this matter in his heart, and slowly said, I agree to your request to liberate Beast Ancestors' forces. Then, I'm willing to serve you until the end of time. Jatina lowered her head, and admiration appeared in her eyes. Ever since Han Xiao got rid of Garuten, she had regarded Black Star as her idol. Before meeting Black Star today, she had also been nervous, afraid that the true face of her idol would disappoint her. She was also afraid that Black Star would mistake her for a fence-sitter who was afraid of death and see her actions as betraying her old master to join the winner, which would make her very sad. However, at this moment, she only felt that Black Star was indeed the person who got rid of Garuten. Her admiration for him was not in vain. Her heart palpitated like an electric current running through her body. She was a straightforward person, and her emotions were easily agitated. However, at this moment, she felt that she was moved. Chapter 1070. Retracting the remote projection, Han Xiao opened his eyes in the camp. He was in a good mood. 7 Calamity grade officers joined, including a beyond grade A seed. The quality of this batch of talents is not bad. He was only interested in the resources that Beast Ancestor had accumulated and did not have much thoughts about those descendants. After all, both sides were enemies. Even if he forcefully accepted the troops and forced all the descendants of Beast Ancestor to work for him, they would definitely be conflicted. Those loyalists would also pollute the purity of the army and form a new faction, which might become a time bomb one day. Furthermore, the Black Star Corps was a lawful faction on the surface, so some things could not be done too obviously. At the same time, the army was not lacking in manpower. Thus, he was not interested in accepting all the old subordinates of Beast Ancestor. It looked like he was increasing his strength on paper, but in reality, he was burying hidden dangers. Of course, if they were like Jatina, who abandoned the beast and joined him willingly, he would naturally not reject them. Most of the people in the rebel faction are still observing. Jatina is only the first batch. There will definitely be a second and third batch in the future. I wonder how many people will want to join me. Han Xiao pondered. He did not think of getting rid of all these people. After all, Everyone had their own ambitions. Some of them betrayed Beast Ancestors organization, but they might not necessarily join others. Some might want to retire and live in anonymity. Shaking his head, Han Shao temporarily put this matter aside and summoned Philip. Inform Haluz and Sylvia to mobilize the main forces of the Shattered Star Ring and send a fleet to Beast Ancestors' base. Liberate all the slaves and destroy the assembly line of his descendants. The difficulty of End of Darkness was too high, and he did not know where to start. However, the other mission was not difficult for him. Since he had promised them, Han Shao put into action. With Jatina as his backer, he had a reason to do so. Furthermore, Garutin had brought out a large number of elites, so his base was rather empty. As long as the fleet brought along his lord's avatar as protection, there would not be any accidents. This group of people who had abandoned the dark for the light brought good news, but there was one detail that Han Shao was rather concerned about. He felt that there was something wrong with the way Jatina looked at him. She seemed a little too eager. He felt like he was looking at Fu Ding. The Emerald Star Cluster was Beast Ancestors' stronghold. Ever since Jatina and the rest broke out of the encirclement, the atmosphere here had become strange. It was silent and cold, and there were fewer and fewer people talking. Although they were brothers and sisters, there was more vigilance in their eyes when they looked at each other. More and more thoughts were hidden behind each of their expressionless faces. People's hearts changed, and undercurrents surged. Jatina was the first defector, and there were even more cautious members of the rebel faction who were observing the situation. Seeing that she had made a good start, more and more people became restless. In a secret room, a group of people from the rebel faction quietly gathered. The leader was a calamity-grade officer who had always had a reputation, Great Python Schneider. Although he was not at the level of one of the 4 great generals, he was still an elite combatant who had fused his pugilist techniques with his poison talent. His combat strength was extraordinary, and he was one of the commanders of the fleet. I'm sure everyone knows why I've gathered all of you here. Schneider looked around, and his gaze paused on a few powerful officers. He slowly said, Big Sister Jatina has sent news that Black Star has already accepted them. They have found a good home. Everyone present did not speak, staring at him and waiting for him to continue. Schneider saw this and continued, The die-hard loyalists have suffered heavy losses in the battle with Jatina, so they probably do not want to waste any more energy dealing with the defectors. We have been observing for a long time, and it is time for us to leave. I know that some of you here are not willing to join others and want to establish your own faction. Everything will wait until we join hands in the defection. Those who are not willing to follow me, we will go our separate ways in the future. If we meet again in the universe, perhaps we can still remember the friendship between brothers and sisters. The moment he finished speaking, the room was silent for a while before someone spoke in agreement. That's right, we should leave. In a few days, it will be my troops' turn to patrol. This is an opportunity, and it is best to avoid conflict with the die-hard loyalists. Once the chatterbox was opened, everyone began to talk at once. Everyone present was a figure of real power, and they all offered suggestions for the defection plan, brainstorming for the benefit of the masses. On the other side, some of the die-hard loyalists had also quietly gathered in another secret room to discuss another matter. Have you heard? Jatina and that group of traitors have joined the Black Star Corps. Where did the news come from? Is it reliable? Many people witnessed their spaceship flying toward the Black Star Corps stronghold, and they never came out again. Among those traitors with ulterior motives, there's also been a lot of information. It should be reliable. Someone's eyes flashed, and he said with a deep voice, If the situation is true, we can implement a bold plan. Let our people pretend to defect and join the Black Star Corps to find a chance to save Lord Father. But Black Star is a beyond grade A mechanic. It will be very difficult to steal from under his nose. Plus, it is said that the space-time amber is unsolvable. Even the 3 universal civilizations are helpless against it. Lord Father raised us and is our respected elder. Now that he is in trouble, only we can help him. No matter how slim the hope is, we have to try, someone said firmly. All right, but there's still a problem. Those traitors definitely know about us. If we, the loyal subjects, pretend to defect, they will definitely see through it. This is indeed a problem. After being together for so long, we know each other very well. Our people will not be able to infiltrate the group of traitors. Everyone fell into hesitation. Jotana's incident had provided these loyal subjects with inspiration. Some of them wanted to put on a show and take the risk to save Garutan, who had been turned into a specimen. After all, their father was only imprisoned and had not died. The loyal subjects still had hope. This time, the sound of the communicator in the room broke the silence. Like a clap of thunder, it pulled everyone back from their dilemma. The leader opened it and said, "Byram has gathered all the officers. We're going to have a meeting to discuss our future plans." Everyone was not surprised. After Garutan fell, such meetings had been held many times. Without a decision-maker, the affairs of the organization could only be decided by the many officers. Everyone had their own plans. Most of the time, they could not reach a consensus, but they had to go. The group of loyal subjects got up and left the room, rushing to the large conference room. At this time, the conference room was already full of people, all of whom were officers of the stronghold. The scene was as noisy as a market. The seats of the loyal subjects, the neutral subjects, and the traitors were clearly separated, looking at each other coldly. This group of loyal subjects saw Schneider at a glance and glared at him before finding a place to sit down. Schneider did not care about the attitude of the loyal subjects. They had also received the news of the meeting when they were gathered in the secret room and rushed over. After waiting for a while, all the officers finally arrived. Byram was the last to enter, and he closed the door of the conference room. Under everyone's gazes, he walked to the podium at the front of the room and glanced at everyone below. "What happened? Why did you gather us again?" One of the officers below spoke. This person was also one of the 4 generals. "We haven't finished discussing the topic from last time. Today, we have to continue discussing the future of the organization." Byram showed a calm smile, then suddenly changed the topic and said with a smile, "But before that, I would like to introduce a person to everyone." Everyone frowned, sensing that something was wrong from Byram's attitude. At this time, a magical wave suddenly appeared in the room, and a circle of blue teleportation door opened beside Byram. A foot slowly stepped out of the teleportation door, and a strong sense of oppression descended. The air in the room seemed to have condensed to the freezing point in an instant. Secret Master walked out and closed the teleportation door. With his hands behind his back, he scanned everyone present with an indifferent expression. The entire room was silent. At this time, Byram's smiling voice broke the silence. "I believe everyone is familiar with him. This is His Excellency Secret Master, a protector of the galactic black market like father." "Byram, what is the meaning of this?" A loyal battle general stood up, suppressing his anger as he asked in a deep voice. In fact, everyone understood that Byram, a neutral officer, had already made contact with Secret Master. Under the guise of a meeting, he gathered all the officers so that Secret Master could capture them all and control them. He wanted to offer this stronghold and all the officers present to Secret Master as a reward for his promotion. Byram smiled, but did not say anything. He turned to Secret Master and said with a smile, "Father has fallen, and now countless organizations are eyeing us covetously, wanting to divide us up. Without a beyond grade A organization, we will always be a pile of loose sand. His Excellency Secret Master is Father's old friend, so he has decided to provide us protection and help us get through this difficult time." Lie, continue lying. Everyone cursed in their hearts. The neutral parties were surprised, the traitors had heavy hearts, and the loyalists were furious. Secret Master took in everyone's expressions and said calmly, "This is the situation. Garutan and I are like brothers, and I cannot watch his descendants fall apart. Therefore, I will temporarily take over Beast Ancestors organization until the situation stabilizes. Then, I will return the authority to you. To hell with your brotherly relationship. Do you think we all have amnesia?" Everyone clenched their teeth. Secret Master was not as wealthy as the Black Star Corps, and the generals under Beast Ancestor were also one of the resources he wanted to occupy. Because he was not a direct enemy like Black Star, he was not worried about revenge. As a protector of the galactic black market, it was more reasonable for him to take over Beast Ancestor's organization. Furthermore, his organization was originally a mix of good and bad, belonging to the Grey faction. Therefore, he was not worried about indigestion after taking over Beast Ancestor's army. This was just an excuse for Secret Master to take over Beast Ancestor's organization. However, even if the Loyalists were furious, they did not dare to stand up and oppose him. Secret Master had already said so much. If they did not know what was good for them, they would be done for if a pinnacle beyond grade A killed them. Therefore, after Secret Master finished speaking, no one dared to refute him. It was as if they all agreed. Right at this moment, Schneider slowly stood up, attracting the gazes of everyone, including Secret Master, to him. He took a deep breath and slowly said in a respectful tone, "Thank you for your generosity, Secret Master. Your protection is exactly what we urgently need. I am very much in favor of you temporarily taking over Father's organization." Not bad. Secret Master nodded, feeling that this kid was quite smart. However, Schneider suddenly changed the topic. "But I'm tired of this kind of life. I don't want to continue fighting in the universe with my bravery. Now, I just want to live the life of an ordinary person. Your Excellency, Secret Master, I'm not against you, but everyone has their own ambitions. Please allow me to retire." Secret Master did not mind and casually said, "You have the combat strength of a calamity grade. It's a pity to retire just like that. Continue to do your job. I have high hopes for you. Don't talk about resigning. Sit down." Schneider gritted his teeth and mustered up his courage. "Your Excellency, Secret Master, I wish to take a leave of absence. My sister has defected to the Black Star Corps. I want to tell her so that she doesn't have to worry about her family." As soon as he said this, his meaning was clear. The subtext was that he did not want to work for Secret Master, but wanted to defect to Black Star. Secret Master narrowed his eyes and looked at him deeply. After a long silence, the pressure in the room grew stronger and stronger. It was only when Schneider broke out in a cold sweat that Secret Master slowly replied, "I don't think it's necessary. When I officially take over, the outside world will naturally receive the news. There's no need to do this." Hearing this, the people of the rebel faction, including Schneider, all sighed in their hearts. Secret Master's attitude was already very clear. Even if he knew that they wanted to defect to Black Star, he would still detain them and not allow any officers to leave. Who knew how long he would control them? Sigh. Schneider sighed and sat down, feeling rather regretful. If he had known, he would have been more radical and acted together with Jatina. Now that he was one step too late, he might not be able to leave. The faces of the people of the rebel faction did not look too good. Only being in Chow Chow's camp, but being in another could describe their current mood. Secret Master publicly placed a magic imprint on every officer to monitor their every move. He then said a bunch of pompous words, emphasizing how deep his relationship with Garutin was, how strong their relationship was, and how happy they had been together. He was just short of saying that the two of them were blood brothers. Everyone rolled their dead fish eyes as they listened to Secret Master's nonsense. When he announced the end of the meeting, everyone could not wait to get up and leave the room. Only Byram and Secret Master were left in the conference room. Byram went up to Secret Master and put on a smile. "Your Excellency, Secret Master, congratulations on taking over Beast Ancestor's troops. This is only the first step. Beast Ancestor still has a lot of people in his headquarters and other star fields. I understand, but these people he brought to the flickering world are all important officers. Controlling them basically means controlling half of the Beast Ancestor organization. You've done well. When this matter is over, I'll reward you." Secret Master nodded. Hearing this, Byram's smile became even more sincere. After Jatina's betrayal, Byram decided to find a way out. Coincidentally, Secret Master was also plotting against Beast Ancestor's army, so the two of them came to an agreement and decided to assist Secret Master. The reason why he did not look for Black Star was partly because of the conflicting emotions of the members of the organization. The loyal party would definitely split, and secondly, if he gave his organization to his enemy, he would not be able to survive. In comparison, Secret Master was a more suitable choice. Byram was filled with excitement as he bid farewell and left. Secret Master watched him leave and curled his lips. Humph, a fence-sitter. Shaking his head, Secret Master took out his communicator and dialed Sorokin's number. After 3 rings, the call was connected. Sorokin's face appeared on the screen with a playful smile. Your Excellency, Secret Master, have you taken over Beast Ancestors' troops? The initial stage is complete. Secret Master nodded and said in a deep voice, however, Black Star seems to have intervened. Someone wants to join him, Sorokin smiled and said, don't worry, Black Star has many strong generals under his command. He definitely won't take a liking to Beast Ancestors' troops. Since he doesn't want them, you don't have to be afraid of offending him. If you still feel that it's not safe, give Black Star enough resources as compensation after the incorporation. He won't pursue it. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Secret Master was non-committal. He was an adult. He wanted to make friends with Black Star and incorporate Beast Ancestors' troops. In short, he wanted them all. Anyway, Black Star would not take a liking to these people, so it was not like he was picking the fruits of his labor. Sorokin paused and changed the topic. Then, what do you think about my proposal? Secret Master narrowed his eyes. You want to use Garutin's vacated position as a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group in exchange for the identity of a protector of the galactic black market. Your plan is not bad. I'm a businessman. Business is business. Since Garutin has fallen, I need a new partner. Sorokin smiled. During the years of working with Garutin, Sorokin had already infiltrated many industries in the galactic black market. If he had the identity of a protector, he would be able to open up a business. If he could incorporate the galactic black market into the Limitless Financial Group's business empire, the profits would be incalculable. Even Sorokin, who had astronomical assets, could not help but be tempted. Therefore, not long ago, he got in touch with Secret Master and proposed a deal. He would give the position of a shareholder to Secret Master, and the other party would help him get the identity of a protector of the galactic black market. After he proposed the deal, Secret Master did not directly reject, but he also did not agree immediately. From the perspective of Secret Master, without Garutin, he could finally seize more shares of the black market. If he brought in another business giant as a protector, it would be equivalent to inviting a wolf into the house. After all, everyone knew about Sorokin's intentions. However, if he became a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group, he would be able to get involved in more serious businesses, and the profits would be greater. Therefore, Secret Master had been hesitating. At this time, hearing Sorokin mention this again, Secret Master snorted and said calmly, let me be frank. Although the entry requirement is beyond grade A, with your strength, it seems that you can't take on the identity of a protector. Isn't this better for you? Sorokin smiled mysteriously. Secret Master was silent. It seemed to be the case. He pondered for a while before slowly saying, I could try to help you and persuade the other 2 protectors, as well as all the managers of the black market. Sorokin's eyes lit up. Knowing that they had reached a preliminary cooperation, he smiled with satisfaction. Thank you, Your Excellency Secret Master. Then, I will always keep the position of a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group for you. Okay. Secret Master responded calmly and hung up the communication. Chapter 1071. Click, click, click. The sound of mechanical assembly echoed in the private workshop. Mechanical force flashed like blue tentacles, controlling the mechanical arm to build a new king mechanical suit. Han Xiao was fully focused, watching the details of the mechanical suit being perfected step by step. The last piece of armor was embedded in the chest of the king, and a notification popped up on the interface. You have created a gold-grade equipment, universal treasure. Phew! Han Zhao's tense expression relaxed, and he slowly exhaled. This was his second gold-grade king mechanical suit. Even with his previous experience, spirit instrument, and universal treasure creator bonuses, he still had to try 5 times before finally succeeding. However, the number of failures was much lower than the first time. Han Shao planned to give this new king mechanical suit to Hela. Although it was a mechanic-exclusive equipment, and Hela could not enjoy the bonuses, Han Shao only needed its directional teleportation function to provide Hela with security. Furthermore, 2 pieces were not enough. Han Shao still had to create a few spare kings for himself, and he might even prepare one for Ames. The amount of work was secondary. The main thing was that the cost was very high. A king was equivalent to the cost of an entire fleet. If it did not reach gold grade, it would undoubtedly be a loss. Currently, he could not guarantee that he would be able to create a universal treasure grade king every time, so he would definitely waste several times the amount of Anus. Even if the Black Star Corps could afford it, this part of the cost would make him feel the pinch. Sigh, as a mechanic, it's not like I don't have the ability to make money. Han Shao sighed. He glanced at his attribute interface. Because this was the second time he had created the king, the spirit instrument did not give him new god's trait transformation points, nor did it unlock a new layer of bonuses. It only gave him the ability to reload points. Because it was the same blueprint, the efficiency of the reload this time was reduced from 200 points to 160 points. It was a pity that he didn't redeem his luck this time. His hopes for a free ticket were dashed. However, he did redeem his charisma attribute, which wasn't bad. Anyway, he was always shameless. Cough. He didn't care about appearances. The 160 free attribute points continue to be saved. Han Shao stuffed the second set of king into the special maintenance box for the mechanical suit and found a mechanical soldier to send it along with the box to Hela. It was worth mentioning that this special mechanical suit maintenance box was also an orange equipment. It could nurture the mechanical suit and increase a certain basic attribute of the mechanical suit after a long time. As a pinnacle beyond grade A mechanic, Han Shao was currently wearing and using all the good stuff. After settling all of this, Han Shao rubbed his eyes and stretched. It was not that he had nothing to do in the base camp. Apart from dealing with daily affairs, he had been in the workshop repairing apostle weapons and forging universal treasures. He had worked overtime for many days. Relax a little and watch them play cards. Han Shao patted his back and was about to open the door and walk out when his communicator suddenly rang. It was a call from a high-ranking official of the Red Empire. The dynasty is finally willing to call. Has they finally decided on how to deal with me? Han Zhao's eyes flashed, and he accepted the call. The remote projection of a high-ranking official appeared before him. This was the person in charge of liaising with the Beyond Grade as all year round, so he could be considered familiar with Han Shao. Your Excellency Black Star. The dynasty official nodded and said, "Long time no see." "Hello." Han Shao nodded and pretended not to know. "What's the matter?" I know you like to be direct, so I won't waste your time. The dynasty's upper echelons are preparing to announce a plan related to you, and they want to ask for your opinion." "What plan?" "The dynasty intends to temporarily open the right to purchase the evolutionary totem. It will no longer be limited to allies, but freely sold to the entire universe. Because the evolution cube is an energy source and is in your hands, the dynasty wants to know your opinion." The dynasty official smiled. Han Xiaoxin's heart skipped a beat, and he was filled with ecstasy. Although he had guessed this possibility long ago, he was still very excited when it was confirmed. All along, the Red Empire had controlled the sales channels of the evolutionary totem and did not allow it to enter the free market. They could only sell it to allied civilizations. This was the agreement between Han Shao and the dynasty. If the sales restrictions were lifted, every civilization in the universe would become a customer, bringing in immeasurable profits. Furthermore, this was not a one-time deal. The evolutionary totem could only operate for 20 years at most. After its energy was depleted, it would need to be recharged with the evolution cube, just like refueling. Thus, the subsequent maintenance costs would be a huge source of income. It was a super profitable business opportunity. The Red Empire held the right to purchase the evolutionary totem because they wanted to control this profit, which was to obtain the energy source, the evolution cube, from Han Shao. They were not willing to let a non-direct ally control such an important strategic treasure. Thus, the two sides have been arguing over this issue, and a certain crack had formed in their relationship. Now that the dynasty was willing to open up the sales channels of the evolutionary totem, they had finally made a concession and taken the initiative to ease the relationship between the two sides. The reason was undoubtedly the influence of Black Star's godlike battle, and they were willing to temporarily hand over the huge profits to Han Shao. Although he was very excited, Han Shao still caught a phrase. Temporarily open? How long will it be? The dynasty official shook his head. I don't know. The higher-ups should not have set an end date. In other words, if he did something bad, it could end at any time. Han Shaoxin understood. The dynasty's move was not only to rope him in, but also to control him indirectly. When he got used to the huge profits, or when his expanded army could not do without the flow of funds brought by this business, the dynasty would have a new channel to control him. He could understand this. After all, they were a universal civilization, and it was impossible to make them kowtow to you. It was already good enough that they were willing to give in and respect you. Okay, I don't have any objections. When will it be opened? Han Shao agreed. The time has not been set yet. If it is to be officially implemented, it will probably take half a year to a year to prepare. However, within 3 days to half a month, the announcement of this decree will be announced to the entire universe. Therefore, we need to quickly discuss the profit distribution plan, the dynasty official replied. Because the previous plan was mainly to deal with the dynasty and its allies, there were many benefits. However, if it was to be sold to the entire universe, both Han Shao and the dynasty wanted to greatly increase the price to earn money from outsiders. Therefore, the distribution plan had to be reformulated. Han Shao thought for a while and said, in that case, I'll let my business team contact you and try to negotiate a suitable result as soon as possible. The Germinal Financial Group, which was affiliated with the army, had a group of business negotiation experts, which would come in handy in this matter. As an executive of the financial group, Interpius was an expert in this area. Because he had the evolution cube, the majority of the profits would definitely be on his side. However, the dynasty had to share some of the profits as well. After all, they had helped to bear the pressure for so long, and he could not pretend that nothing had happened. Furthermore, he would still need the Red Empire to provide logistical, transportation, and raw materials assistance in the future. After all, the entire universe market was too big, and the current Black Star Corps would not be able to cover the entire universe. After the two of them discussed for a while, Han Shao hung up the communication. Thinking that the army was about to obtain an endless source of profits, he was in an extremely good mood. Suddenly, a thought appeared in his mind. Han Zhao's eyes flashed, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a mocking sneer. When the Red Empire announces this decree, I can make a trip to the Limitless Financial Group. Humph, do you think that you can take back the suppression on my business and pretend that nothing happened? How can there be such a good thing? Emerald Star Cluster, Beast Ancestor Stronghold, Actual Combat Training Ground. Boom! His fist, which was curved like a leopard's claw, was wrapped in a faint black channel flame. He fiercely punched a body's abdomen. The skin and muscles of the area where he hit rippled under the tremendous force, and a shockwave of air burst out. A burly figure was sent flying by this blow with the momentum of a cannonball, heavily crashing into the wall of the training ground with a loud bang, and smoke and dust filled the air. Schneider retracted his fist, and the poisonous light black aura dissipated. He said indifferently, "Let's not fight anymore. Let's call a day." After saying that, he did not even look at the loyal officer who took the initiative to ask for a spar, but was easily defeated by him. He put on the windbreaker that he had thrown aside and walked out of the training ground. If it were any other time, Schneider would not be bothered to respond to the challenges of others. However, he had been in a bad mood recently and wanted to vent his anger through fighting. When he thought about how everyone was grounded by Secret Master and was not allowed to leave the stronghold, Schneider could not help but sigh. Beep beep. Just then, his communicator rang. Schneider glanced at it and saw that it was a call from the big sister he had always respected, Jatina. As soon as the call connected, Jatina began to grumble, her tone filled with dissatisfaction. I invited you to leave the beast ancestor with me. You said to wait and see, and I agreed. However, it's been so long, and you still haven't left with your brothers and sisters? What's the matter with you, little brother? Schneider had a helpless look on his face as he said softly, Big sister, it's not that I don't want to leave. It's just that there was an accident. What accident? Jatina frowned. It's His Excellency, Secret Master. Schneider thought of the surveillance magic brand on his body and suddenly paused. After a mental struggle, he gritted his teeth and decided to tell the truth. He said that he wants to take over the beast ancestor's troops and wants all of us to work for him. Now, no one can leave the beast ancestor stronghold, and I'm also trapped here. Jatina was furious, exasperated at his failure to live up to her expectations. I told you to leave earlier, but you didn't listen, you coward. Look at you now, what a piece of trash. Trash. You're a disgrace to this old lady. She scolded him, and Schneider was a yes man, unable to refute and not daring to talk back. The hatred of the people of the rebel faction toward Gruten basically stemmed from the tragic fate of their birth mothers, so they were more humane than the other two factions. Some of them even had true brotherly and sisterly relationships. Schneider and Jatina grew up together, and he had been afraid of this big sister since young. Even now, there was still a shadow of his childhood. Jatina scolded him for a while. Seeing Schneider's dejected expression, she couldn't bear it and said, If you're not willing to continue working for Secret Master, escape when you find a chance in the future. Schneider shook his head and sighed. Secret Master said that escaping without permission is considered betrayal. He left a magic brand on us, so even if we dare to escape, how can we escape from the pursuit of a beyond grade A? Jatina had a warm heart toward the brothers and sisters she recognized. She couldn't bear to see Schneider being forced to serve Secret Master. After hesitating for a while, she suddenly said, Let me ask you, are you willing to join the Black Star Corps? Of course, but I don't have a chance now. Schneider sighed. Hearing this, Jatina gritted her teeth and said decisively, Don't worry, I'll think of a way to ask the army commander for help. Then, without waiting for Schneider's reply, she hastily hung up the call. Schneider held up the communicator with a helpless expression. Ask Black Star for help? How was that possible? He sighed, not holding any hope at all. They were beast ancestor subordinates, but although they verbally expressed the intention of joining him, they were not part of the Black Star Corps. How could Black Star offend another peak beyond grade A for a few calamity grades like them? Beast Ancestor's former palace had become Secret Master's residence. Garutin's huge throne had been stored in an alchemy storage bottle by his Secret Master as a trophy. His own throne had replaced Garutin's seat. At this moment, Secret Master was sitting on the throne, flipping through the information of Beast Ancestor's officers. Byram was by his side, answering any questions at any time. At this moment, Secret Master's communicator rang. He glanced at it, and his expression suddenly became serious. This expression, as if he was facing a great enemy, stunned Byram. He secretly guessed who had called to make Secret Master's expression change so drastically. This time, Secret Master waved his hand and coldly said, You can leave first. Hearing this, although Byram was curious, he could only leave. Although he thought that he was Secret Master's new confidant, he did not dare overstep the rules. Now that he was the only one left in the room, Secret Master picked up the call with a serious expression. Black Star, why are you looking for me? As soon as he said that, Han Zhao's hearty laughter came from the communicator. Ha ha, Secret Master, you seem a little nervous. You're thinking too much. Secret Master's brain worked quickly. Although he wanted to make friends with Black Star, he could not help but feel guilty when he received a call from the other party at this moment. Han Zhao smiled. Although he had a conflict over the primal chaos mysterious energy, It's already been resolved. There's no grudge between us, right? Speaking of which, I did you a big favor. What favor? Do you still have to ask? Of course, it's Beast Ancestor. Didn't you remind me back then because you wanted to make things difficult for Garutan? You and he are both protectors of the black market, so there must be some conflicts of interest. I helped you get rid of him so that you could take over his market. Isn't that a big favor for you? Indeed, you helped me indirectly. Secret Master did not deny it. Since I did you a favor, I happen to need you to do me a favor as well. Han Shao blinked and said with a meaningful smile, I heard that you're taking over Beast Ancestor's army. Don't worry, I'm not interested in those crooked people who view me as their enemy. If you want to take them in, it's up to you. However, there seem to be some decent people among them who want to join me. Don't stop these people. Secret Master's eyes changed slightly. He was a little reluctant to part with these calamity-grade officers. Furthermore, if he made this request, there would definitely be some officers who would use joining Black Star as an excuse. Should he let them go or not? This way, his gains from taking over Beast Ancestor's troops would be greatly reduced, and he would definitely lose many calamity-grade talents. However, since Black Star had called, it meant that he knew that he was detaining people. If he did not agree, he would probably offend Black Star. Furthermore, Black Star would definitely be very unyielding recently, and it might even worsen the conflict. He still wanted to befriend Black Star and was not willing to lose the big picture for a small gain. Although Secret Master felt that it was a pity, he did not hesitate at this time. He was not willing to offend Black Star for some calamity-grade officers. He said with a deep voice, Okay, as long as there are people who want to join you, I'll let them go. That's great. Han Shao then laughed. The two of them suppressed their inner emotions and pretended to be good brothers. They chatted for a while before hanging up. As soon as he put down the communicator, Secret Master's expression turned ugly. He summoned Byram and ordered, Get out of here. He ordered Byram, bring Schneider and his group over. Byram was a little confused, but he still did as he was told. Very soon, Schneider and the other officers of the rebel faction gathered in the palace, staring at Secret Master on the throne with complicated, helpless, and unhappy gazes. Secret Master was expressionless as he slowly asked, Who wants to join the Black Star Corps? There was a slight commotion in the crowd, and they looked at each other, not knowing what Secret Master was doing. Could it be that he was testing them, wanting to make an example out of them and completely dispel their thoughts of joining someone else? Everyone immediately became alert, feeling that they had guessed the truth. They immediately expressed their loyalty. How is that possible? We are all willing to accept the protection of His Excellency, Secret Master. Everyone here is a brother, and they speak nicely. I really like this place, so how can I join someone else? Seeing this scene, Secret Master felt his balls ache. If it was someone else, he could use this method to say that no one was willing to join him, but Secret Master did not intend to play any tricks to appease Black Star, so he was very depressed. The current situation could be simply summarized as, Everyone, Daddy's Secret Master, we really don't want to join Black Star. Secret Master, no, think about it. Hurry up and go find your father. Taking a deep breath, Secret Master calmed himself down and suddenly released his aura, saying in a deep voice, Cut the crap. Those who want to join Black Star, I won't stop you. I'm not joking with you. If you want to leave, hurry up and get lost. The people who were expressing their loyalty felt a strong pressure, and when they realized that Secret Master did not seem to be testing them, they were all stunned. What's going on? Wasn't he grounded a while ago? Why is he suddenly letting us go? Is Secret Master so fickle? Byram's expression changed as he thought of the call just now. Now that he thought about it, it was definitely Black Star. He actually made Secret Master compromise with just a few words, and Secret Master was actually so afraid of Black Star. Byram was secretly shocked. In the crowd, Schneider suddenly thought of his call with Jatina 2 hours ago and sucked in a breath of cold air. It can't be wrong. It's definitely Black Star's doing. Otherwise, there's no way to explain it. He realized that Secret Master's expression was not good, and he was definitely unwilling to make this decision. Schneider secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva, a storm brewing in his heart. The way he saw it, Jatina had just joined the army and could not possibly have a right to speak. Then, Black Star did not hesitate to offend Secret Master, most likely because he valued them. Although he did not know if his guess was right, Schneider could not help but feel touched, and he had the urge to die for his friend. Looks like Jatina was right. Black Star is indeed someone worth joining. Because it was a private transaction, the departure of Schneider and the others did not cause much of a stir. However, 7 or 8 days later, the Red Empire issued a decree without warning, which suddenly ignited the enthusiasm of the entire universe, shocking countless people. The content of the decree was very simple. The Empire had decided to open up the right to purchase the evolutionary totem to the entire universe in 1 year's time. The 3 universal civilizations had been fighting over the evolutionary totem for a long time. As soon as this announcement was made, it caused a huge uproar and countless civilizations went crazy with excitement. Oh my God, the Empire has finally been enlightened. The entire universe knew that the Red Empire would not make such a decision for no reason. For them to suddenly make such a decision, it definitely had something to do with recent events. And everyone knew that the only major universe-level event that had happened recently was Black Star's godlike battle. Even ordinary people could understand the cause and effect between these two events. The Empire suddenly opened up the right to purchase the evolutionary totem because they were shocked by Black Star's battle results. Thus, they compromised with Black Star and took the initiative to give in, allowing Black Star, who had the evolution cube, to control the evolutionary totem business. A universal civilization, especially one as stubborn as the Red Empire, actually gave in to a beyond grade A. How many years had it been since they had seen such a scene? After figuring this out, countless galactic residents and civilizations were shocked beyond words. On the other side, Radiance and Ethereal were not shocked but overjoyed. Black Star had shown his might and moved the Red Empire to open up the evolutionary totem. For this, it seemed worth it even if they lost a few beyond grade As. We've taken the wrong path. If they had known this would happen, they would not have pressured the dynasty in Black Star. They would have sent a bunch of heads to Black Star so that he could show off his godly performance. Then, wouldn't their plan to obtain the evolutionary totem have succeeded a long time ago? The dynasty's decree set off a frenzy of public opinion in the entire universe. Han Zhao's battle results were already very popular, and now it skyrocketed again. His personal prestige suddenly soared to a shocking level. Before the popularity of this matter died down, he alone suppressed the radiance of all the other beyond grade As. While the outside world was abuzz with rumors, the Limitless Financial Group's branch in the flickering world quietly welcomed an uninvited guest. Chapter 1072. This was a large commercial planet located in the Dawnstar cluster. Anti-gravity flying vehicles shuttled back and forth in the sky like rivers of steel hanging diagonally in the air. In the center of the planet's core city, there were many tall buildings. One of them was very eye-catching, towering into the clouds and standing out from the crowd. The entire structure was like a vertical gene chain, resembling a twisted 8. The outer wall of the building was pure white, and the corners would flash with a blue light every once in a while. It had a certain technological and artistic feel to it. At the top of the building were 8 anti-gravity hovering aprons that formed a circle, like floating islands, surrounding the infinity building sign in the middle. This was the emblem of the Limitless Financial Group. The entire building was a branch of the Limitless Financial Group. Without special circumstances, commercial organizations would not build armed bases everywhere like warlords. A small aircraft in the atmosphere slowly landed on the apron at the top of the Limitless Financial Group's branch. Han Xiao walked out of the cabin and stepped onto the platform. "Welcome, Your Excellency Black Star." The receptionist, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately welcomed him. Black Star had already informed the Limitless Financial Group about his visit, and the financial group had already arranged for the receptionist. Han Xiao nodded and said expressionlessly, "Where's Sorokin?" Your Excellency Sorokin is already waiting in the reception room. Please follow me. The receptionist respectfully replied and led the way. Han Xiao followed him into the Limitless Financial Group's branch, took a private elevator, and stopped on a floor. The elevator door opened, and a spacious space appeared in front of them. There was a sofa and table in the center of the room, and there were unknown species of blue and green plants in the four corners. The surrounding walls were all floor-to-ceiling windows, and there was no extra furniture. The entire floor was a reception room. Sorokin was waiting on the sofa. At this moment, he stood up and welcomed Han Xiao with a face full of smiles. Your Excellency Blackstar, please take a seat. The elevator door closed, and only the two of them were left in the room. Han Xiao sat opposite Sorokin, and only then did Sorokin sit down again. He smiled and said, "What a rare guest. When you said that you were visiting me, I didn't believe it. Why would a busy person like you suddenly come to my place? Why? Don't you welcome me?" Han Xiao tilted his head. "Ha, you must be joking. Of course I welcome you." Sorokin maintained his smile as he secretly sized up Han Xiao. Unfortunately, he couldn't see anything. On the surface, Sorokin appeared to be hospitable, but in fact, he was full of doubts. He was secretly guessing the reason why Blackstar had come to visit without warning. Recently, the news of the Empire giving in to Blackstar had spread like wildfire. Sorokin had naturally heard of it. Although he was surprised, he wasn't shocked. After all, when Han Xiao had just finished the rescue of Hela, he had already guessed this possibility. His surprise came more from the fact that the Empire had really done so. Now that Blackstar was in the limelight in the universe, at such a crucial moment, this guy suddenly came looking for him. Who knew what he was planning? Could it be that he wanted to cooperate on the evolutionary totem? That didn't seem likely. The Empire had no reason to let an outsider interfere. Furthermore, the Limitless Financial Group and the Blackstar Corps had always had a business conflict. Although he did not mention it, he did not forget about it in his heart. Sorokin was secretly very vigilant at this time. Han Xiao appeared very relaxed, as if he was just here to catch up. He smiled and said, "This is the first time I'm here as a guest. It's really prosperous. It seems that the Limitless Financial Group is developing very well in the flickering world. This is all thanks to our partners." Sorokin picked up the wine bottle on the table, opened the cap, and personally poured a glass for Han Xiao. "Good wine. This seems to be a premium product from Radiance." Han Xiao picked up the glass, swirled the amber wine inside, and listened to the crisp clinking sound of ice cubes hitting the glass. He smiled and casually said, "Speaking of which, we are also partners in certain fields." "That's right." Sorokin nodded. Han Xiao did not go straight to the point, but started a chat. Sorokin could not figure out his intentions, so he could only go along with the conversation. After taking a sip of the wine, the clear and fragrant wine flowed down his throat. Han Xiao smacked his lips, reminisced about the taste, and suddenly sighed. "Sigh. Until today, I still feel regret. Back then, the Limitless Financial Group almost became closer partners with us. It's a pity that you chose the Bloodshed Land in the end. Business matters are always unpredictable. Compared to the Blackstar Corps, the Limitless Financial Group is more willing to invest in an organization that has a huge size but is unable to materialize it. It's not that the Blackstar Corps is not good, but that the Bloodshed Land needs us more. I also feel deeply regretful that we were unable to reach an agreement back then." Sorokin said a bunch of polite words, but he was secretly muttering in his heart. He had invested in the Bloodshed Land in order to support the Blackstar Army's competitor in the business sector and steal the Army's business. There was no reason for Blackstar to not know about this. Now that this matter was brought up, yet he did not mention anything about the business war. Who knew what he was up to? Let this old man pretend to be polite with this person again. Sorokin thought to himself. However, at this moment, Han Xiao looked up at him and smiled. "In fact, this is the purpose of my visit today. Today is different from the past. I want to represent the Army and provide an opportunity for the Limitless Financial Group to cooperate." Hearing this, Sorokin narrowed his eyes and quickly calculated. Suddenly, he came to a realization. "I understand now. So this is Black Star's plan. After the release of the evolutionary totem, the Limitless Financial Group did not need to continue pressuring the Black Star core. The obstacle between the two parties had disappeared, and they could now carry out business cooperation normally. With the size of the Limitless Financial Group and the Black Star core, if they cooperated, it would indeed be a win-win situation. For this reason, Black Star no longer pursued the past 20 years of business conflicts and took the initiative to propose the vision of cooperation. Such an approach of abandoning the past and making money together was very much to Sorokin's liking. He thought that he had guessed the purpose of Han Zhao's visit and immediately relaxed a lot. The smile on his face was no longer a formal one, and there was finally a hint of a genuine smile. Your Excellency, Black Star's proposal is exactly what I want. Now that the flickering world is filled with opportunities, if the two of us work together, we will be invincible and occupy the majority of the flickering world market. Since Your Excellency Sorokin also thinks so, this matter will be easy to handle. Han Xiao slapped his thigh and said, "Then, let's set the date for me to officially become a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group." As his voice sounded, the air in the room froze. Sorokin's smile froze on his face. What shareholder position? Aren't we talking about a normal business cooperation between the two of us? Why are we talking about this? However, seeing the playful look in Han Zhao's eyes, Sorokin's heart skipped a beat. He realized that he seemed to have misunderstood the purpose of Han Zhao's visit. Your Excellency Black Star, forgive me for being presumptuous, but the cooperation you're talking about is the cooperation opportunity one provided to the Limitless Financial Group is for me to become a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group. Don't you happen to have an empty seat? Han Xiao smiled meaningfully. This was his real purpose for coming. Sorokin's eyes narrowed slightly. He finally confirmed that Han Xiao did not come with good intentions. Taking advantage of the fact that Garutin's seat is empty, Black Star wants to replace him? Do you really think that the position of a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group is a trophy? Whether I can take it or not still depends on me. Around this shareholder position, Sorokin had already formulated a detailed strategy to enter the galactic black market. This was the bargaining chip of the deal with Secret Master, so he naturally would not give this position to anyone else. This was related to the blueprint of his business empire in his heart. Becoming the protector of the galactic black market was an extremely crucial step. Sorokin's smile faded, and he slowly said, "Then I'm sorry. Although Garutin met with an accident, since he's still alive, he's still a shareholder. If he dies in an accident, according to the contract he signed with me, his shares will be taken back by the consortium. I have no plans to establish a new shareholder for the time being. If you want to talk about other cooperation, I'm happy to accompany you, but there's no need to talk about the shareholder position." Han Xiao did not mind and chuckled. "If I remember correctly, this is the second time you have rejected my request to become a shareholder." Hearing this, Sorokin could not help but think back. It seemed that more than 20 years ago, when the two of them first met, Black Star had proposed once. "That's right. I rejected you back then. Today, my answer is still the same." Sorokin calmly said, "The foundation of the consortium is huge. Any change in any shareholder requires the consent of all shareholders. At the same time, each of the three universal civilizations only has one shareholder in the Limitless Financial Group. The three parties are in balance. Kant is already one of the shareholders, so Radiance and Ethereal will not allow a second dynasty ally to enter the shareholders' meeting." Han Xiao blinked and said meaningfully, "Sorokin, 20 years have passed. Times have changed. I will give you an offer that you can't refuse." "Oh, hee. First of all, I'll ask for the consent of all shareholders. Do you think the others will support me or reject me?" Sorokin was slightly stunned, and his brows furrowed. He suddenly realized that this problem did not seem to be an obstacle to Black Star. Black Star was no longer the same as before. His position in the universe was far higher than 20 years ago. He was also in charge of building the communication platform for the Beyond Grade A United Front. Just based on this, he could obtain the support of Manison and Kasui. As Black Star's colleague, Kant would not object. Sorokin suddenly had a bad feeling. This time, Han Shao smiled and slowly said, "As for the three universal civilizations' checks and balances, do you think that radiance and ethereal will make an exception and allow a second dynasty ally to become a shareholder because of the evolutionary totem? Or do you think that at this point, they will openly oppose me?" The dagger is revealed. This was Sorokin's only thought at this moment. His expression completely darkened. That's right, the dynasty's opening of the evolutionary totem temporarily resolved the hostility between radiance and ethereal. Furthermore, in order to ensure the dynasty's smooth implementation of this decree, radiance and ethereal might even turn into bootlickers. Not only would they try to ease their relationship with the dynasty, but they would also try to curry favor with Black Star, who had the evolution cube. Furthermore, Black Star had their captives in his hands, so he had more than enough bargaining chips to make radiance and ethereal compromise. If he insisted on including the condition of becoming a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group in the ransom clause, not only would radiance and ethereal not stop him, they would even help Black Star become a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group. At this moment, Sorokin finally noticed a detail that made him faintly uneasy. Once the issue of the evolutionary totem was resolved, although he had completed the transaction between radiance and ethereal and obtained the benefits he wanted, he had also lost these two protective talismans. This meant that if Black Star wanted to become a shareholder, as the head of the financial group, he did not have the right to refuse. He could either pinch his nose and let Black Star become a shareholder and let this guy eat an astronomical amount of dividends for free, or wait for the three universal civilizations to help Black Star and punish the Limitless Financial Group in the commercial field, forcing him to submit. He had no choice but to give it up. Thinking of this, Sorokin took a deep look at Han Shao. What a good move, completely using his own influence. Could it be that Black Star had already predicted this? Han Shao only smiled and slowly sipped his drink, looking fearless as he waited for the answer. Seeing this, Sorokin's expression kept changing. After a moment of silence, he slowly spoke again. "Black Star, this move of yours is quite beautiful. Then, what do you plan to choose?" Han Zhao's expression was playful. "Do I have a choice?" Hearing this, Han Shao smiled, put down his glass, and extended his hand to Sorokin. "Then, I wish us a happy cooperation." Looking at Han Zhao's hand, Sorokin took a deep breath, suppressed his feelings, and squeezed out a smile. He reached out and shook Han Zhao's hand. Happy cooperation. Clenching their fists tightly, their gazes collided in mid-air, as if sparks were about to fly. Seeing the playful look in Han Zhao's eyes, Sorokin could not help but have the urge to attack. However, this thought was extinguished as soon as it appeared. He recognized the reality. Since he could not resist, he could only enjoy it. Even if it hurt, he decisively compromised and gave in to Han Shao. Han Shao was keenly aware of Sorokin's killing intent. At this moment, he felt as if he had seen a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. His killing intent was even stronger than Hellas. He did not believe that he did not have tens of billions of lives in his hands. This old guy really used to kill without batting an eyelid. However, Han Shao did not care. He smiled and withdrew his hand. He knew that Sorokin was used to pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He was bullying the other party because they did not dare to attack. After all these years, Han Shao had a good understanding of Sorokin's style. This person did not care about personal reputation at all. If he took the initiative to attack and dared to attack, Sorokin would dare to pretend to be defeated and let him beat him up. Then, he would use propaganda tools to make the whole universe know. That way, he would not be in the right, and his position as a shareholder would be ruined. His positive reputation would plummet, and he would lose a lot of financial groups. Although he did not have the support of Radiance and Ethereal, the identity of the head of the Limitless Financial Group was also a protective talisman. This was not some random gray organization, but the head of a legal galactic business organization. Using violence against such a person would have a huge negative impact. It was like a person with the surname Ma beating up another person with the surname Ma. Whether it would make the headlines or not, it was obvious. After getting what he wanted, Han Xiao stopped teasing Sorokin. He put away his smile and said, "Since we have reached a consensus, please announce this to the outside world as soon as possible. I won't disturb you anymore." "Okay, take care." Sorokin forced a smile and sent him off. After Han Xiao left the room, Sorokin's face turned completely sour. This time he had screwed up. Although it seemed like the shareholder had changed from Garutan to Blackstar, this had destroyed Sorokin's business strategy and missed a great opportunity to enter the galactic black market. As a businessman, watching an important business opportunity slip through his fingers, the pain could not be described with words. It was unforgettable. Furthermore, with Blackstar's vigilance against him, he would not sincerely cooperate with the Limitless Financial Group. Therefore, the Limitless Financial Group would probably not be able to get any benefits from his shareholder. They could only give Blackstar dividends for free and might even have to deal with Blackstar's reverse infiltration. Just thinking about it made Sorokin feel terrible. All along, the Limitless Financial Group had been using commercial means to hinder the development of the Blackstar Core. They had only stopped recently. However, this time, Han Xiao had turned the tables on them. Kacha! The wine glass was crushed, and the shards fell to the ground. Sorokin did not wipe his hands and allowed the amber wine to drip from the gaps of his fists. His expression was extremely ugly as he muttered to himself, "I hate beyond grade as PY Pushbook. This number is toxic," by the kindergarten leader. Introduction. Lu Sun, who had just created a Smuff account, transmigrated to the Xinxia genre game Heavenly Dust. He's clearly a player, but for some reason, he has an NPC model. As for the real players, they will descend in 3 years. Now, the first thing he has to face is a demoness who wants to capture him and use him as a sex slave. Chapter 1073. As the spaceship left the Limitless Financial Group's branch, Han Xiao watched as the building became smaller and smaller. Only then did he retract his gaze and chuckle. The timing was good. Sorokin compromised. In his estimation, the success rate of the negotiation was about 70%. Even if he had the right timing, location, and people, he did not dare say that he had a 100% chance of making Sorokin give in. Fortunately, his judgment of Sorokin's character was not wrong, and the result was not bad. If it was any other beyond grade A with a violent temper, they would have probably fallen over with him. However, Sorokin was good at enduring, and this was probably not the first time he had encountered such a situation. After weighing the pros and cons, he chose to compromise. Speaking of which, Sorokin is avoiding showing his strength. There must be a lot of tricks behind it. Han Xiao stroked his chin and muttered to himself. This guy was not like the other beyond grade A organizations, who relied on the influence of their individual strength to develop their organization. He had almost no achievements worth mentioning. The huge foundation of the financial group today was because Sorokin had managed it well, and it was all normal and legal business. The advanced civilizations had always been wary of non-allied beyond grade A organizations. As one of the top super corporations in the universe, the stronger Sorokin was, the more people feared him. Business organizations were not warlords and had their own industry rules. Once targeted by the 3 universal civilizations, it would be difficult for the financial group to continue operating steadily. Furthermore, if others suddenly found out that he had been hiding his strength, this fear would multiply. However, this was only one of the reasons. Han Xiao still remembered some of the information displayed on Sorokin's interface. This guy had probably changed many aliases and lived in the universe with different identities. No matter how many times Sorokin changed his aliases, his abilities would not change. Thus, he avoided using his full strength. It might also be that he did not want to be recognized. Perhaps he had done something big in the past, so he deliberately changed his name. This guy is full of mysteries. Han Xiao shook his head. This was all guesswork. Perhaps Sorokin had other motives. However, no matter what the secret was, he had made Sorokin suffer this time. He had taken revenge for 20 years of suppression. Every year, the shareholders would receive huge dividends from the Limitless Financial Group. This was not a small amount. Although it was not enough to make Sorokin cough up everything, it could still be considered as making up for the losses of the army. Under normal circumstances, the huge dividends would not be taken for free. Every shareholder position given by the Limitless Financial Group had a goal, and they would have business cooperation with the beyond grade A shareholders. However, Han Xiao naturally would not let the Limitless Financial Group share the army's business and channels. Otherwise, it would be giving Sorokin free money. He had already made up his mind to only take the money and not do anything. He would only be a dog in the manger and cause trouble for Sorokin. With the release of the evolutionary totem and my position as a shareholder of the Limitless Financial Group, the army will be able to make two huge profits. The abundant funds will support the army's continued expansion, and the stock price of the Germinal Financial Group will definitely skyrocket. Han Xiaoxin happily calculated in his mind. He took out his communicator and sent a message to the three universal civilizations. Reaching an agreement with Sorokin was only the first step. He still had to file a record with the three universal civilizations in exchange for their support. Because of the issue of the evolutionary totem and the captives, this was not difficult. After sending the message, Han Xiao let out a sigh of relief. Now that the dynasty, radiance, and ethereal had all expressed their stance, and Sorokin had also suffered a setback, this meant that the aftermath of Black Star's godlike war was almost done. If there was anything left to do, it would be to settle the score with Traveler and the supercluster civilization behind him. Traveler had already gone into hiding, but Han Xiao knew which supercluster civilization he belonged to. However, after thinking about it, Han Xiao did not plan to deal with the supercluster civilization behind him for the time being. On one hand, the supercluster alliance was currently developing as a group, steadily expanding in the free competition zone. They would not easily cause trouble, so there was no chance for him to take action. On the other hand, the three universal civilizations would not sit by and watch the supercluster alliance develop in the flickering world. They would definitely take action, and it was probably still brewing. Therefore, Han Xiao decided to wait for an opportunity. When the time came, he would cooperate with the three universal civilizations to give the supercluster alliance a head-on blow. It would be much easier than the army doing it alone. Things are almost done. The construction of the Beyond Grade, a United Front platform, should also be put on the agenda. Han Xiao rolled his eyes. Manison and Kasi, one a director and the other a movie king, did not rush him after everything was done. No matter what grudges they had in the past, at the very least, he owed them a favor during the rescue of Hela. Therefore, he still had to pay more attention to the United Front. The purpose of this platform is to use the opportunity of the flickering world to unify the forces of all the Beyond Grade, as in give everyone a reasonable platform to communicate with each other, becoming the bridge that binds the Beyond Grade as together. It can't be built in secret behind the three universal civilizations, nor can it be built too openly. United Front, United Front. Wait, United Front? Han Xiao suddenly had an idea. He hurriedly recited a few socialist mantras to suppress some subtle thoughts. Can't say. I should go back and think about it. At the same time, Secret Master, who was far away in the Beast Ancestor stronghold, received a communication request from Sorokin. Sorokin, what's the matter? Your Excellency Secret Master, I have bad news for you. Sorokin sighed. Speak. Secret Master frowned. There's a problem with the deal we discussed earlier. Secret Master was confused. What happened? I said that I would keep the shareholder position for you. But just now, Black Star came over and threatened me. You also know that because of the evolutionary totem, the three universal civilizations will definitely support him. In order to reduce my losses, I can only agree to his request. You mean Black Star took away the shareholder position I reserved? Secret Master's expression changed. Sigh, that's indeed the case. I can get a new major shareholder position, but it'll be troublesome to dilute the shares of others. I'll have to spend a lot of time on some business operations to complete the capital increase. Otherwise, the other beyond grade A shareholders won't be happy. Sorokin could not take out his shares, or else he would lose control of the financial group. All right, we'll talk about the deal after you're done. Secret Master was helpless. Although he said that they would work together in the future, he already had plans to cancel the deal. Sorokin is too unreliable. I was the one who came first. Secret Master was not angry about Han Xiao snatching his lollipop. After all, in his opinion, Blackstar did not know about this private deal and was not targeting him. A few days later, Flickering World Beyond Grade A Development Union. In the Army Commander's office in Blackstar Palace, Sylvia looked at the prototype of the proposal that Han Xiao handed over and could not help but be surprised. Han Xiao rested his head on his hands, put his legs on the table, and raised his brows. Is there a problem? There's a huge problem. The dynasty won't agree. Sylvia had a helpless expression. Openly joining forces with a beyond grade A organization. Isn't this the same as finding trouble with the 3 universal civilizations? What are you talking about? The Flickering World Beyond Grade A Development Union is a civil organization. Its purpose is to deal with the conflicts between the Beyond Grade A organizations during the expansion of the Flickering World, using negotiation to prevent the Beyond Grade as from erupting into armed conflicts, and jointly maintain the security of the Flickering World. This is a good thing that benefits the entire star field, and it's also a logical idea that came to me after this incident. I'm just worried that there will be more Beyond Grade as courting death and getting caught by me, Han Xiao said with a righteous look. Sylvia was speechless. Waving the document in her hands, she said, "You know that this nonsense won't fool the 3 universal civilizations, right?" Hearing this, Han Xiao put away his gentlemanly expression and rolled his eyes. Of course, what else can I do? If we want to join forces with the Beyond Grade, as we have to find a reason and put on a layer of skin. Whether the 3 universal civilizations believe it or not, we have to come up with a buffer. Sylvia had a worried look. With our Black Star Corps taking the lead, won't it be too conspicuous? Especially with the dynasty. So, this is just a draft. I still have to pull in some people and establish the union first. Those who participated in the meeting of the gods will naturally join. Han Xiao shook his head. Although there were various alliances among the Beyond Grade, as there had never been an overall union, such as the Mercenary Association, the Pharmacist Association, the Superhero Association, and so on. Although the name of this organization was the Development Union, in the eyes of those with discerning eyes, this was the Beyond Grade A Association of the Explored Universe. As long as most of the Beyond Grade as joined this organization, it would lead the new Beyond Grade as to join in the future. The membership range would be even wider than that of the ancient ones, including the entire Beyond Grade as. If the appeal of the Beyond Grade as continued to expand the membership range, it might even evolve into a super association of the entire universe. That would be terrifying because such associations were usually established by the 3 universal civilizations. The 3 universal civilizations definitely won't be at ease with such a civilian organization. They'll definitely request for officials to join. By then, Sylvia hesitated. I know what you mean. The Beyond Grade as have a special meaning, and the 3 universal civilizations don't wish for an association of this nature to appear. However, it's also because we're Beyond Grade as that they can only not wish for it but not forbid it, Han Xiao said. He knew very well that once such an organization was established, the Beyond Grade as would no longer be a sheet of loose sand. The nature of the organization would change, and the 3 universal civilizations would definitely be wary. However, for now, the establishment of the Beyond Grade A Association was just to facilitate communication and not really to do anything bad. Thus, even if the 3 universal civilizations were wary, they would not immediately take any measures. However, it would be hard to say in the future. The problem that the United Front could not avoid was the factions that the Beyond Grade as belonged to. This was a shackle created by the 3 universal civilizations, and the Beyond Grade as would not be allowed to break free. Furthermore, the Mecha Empire wanted to unite the Beyond Grade as, while Han Xiao himself wanted to reduce the beyond grade A casualties and accumulate high-end combatants in the explored universe. The goals of the two were different, and there might be differences at some point. At the same time, the beyond grade as themselves were not united, and there were many problems. Army Commander, you're playing with fire. Sylvia had a worried expression, and her mind was filled with information about the tragedy of the Pinnacles. Now that the Black Star Corps was flourishing, she did not want to see the three universal civilizations purge the beyond grade A organizations. If that happened, the Black Star Corps might even be included in the purge list. The reason why the three universal civilizations' dominance was unbreakable was because the three of them combined were enough to overturn the entire explored universe. She had no doubt that the three universal civilizations were willing to pay the price to kill all the disobedient beyond grade, as in the universe, even if they were allies. Without a universal civilization backing them, a beyond grade A would still be a beyond grade A, and vice versa. Without a beyond grade A ally, a universal civilization would still be a universal civilization. You're overthinking it. Everyone knows what they're doing, and it won't come to that. This is just a test. Han Xiao sighed. The existence of a beyond grade A is too sensitive. Now, we can only take one step at a time and observe the three universal civilizations' reaction. All right, then I'll go perfect the plan. Sylvia had no choice but to agree. After all, Han Xiao was the boss. She got up and opened the door, only to see Fu Ding standing outside. He had also come to look for Han Xiao. The two of them walked past each other. Looking up and seeing Fu Ding, Han Xiao's eyes sparkled. He sat up straight and smiled. Aren't you practicing your singing today? How come you have time to look for me? I know everything, and you actually want me to act. Fu Ding had a helpless expression. Can't you discuss this with me beforehand? It's just being a celebrity. It's your old profession. Plus, the army needs you. You can't reject it, right? Han Xiao chuckled. All right, forget about acting. But why am I the main character? Fu Ding was speechless. The director actually asked me to act as you. The character Fu Ding played in the movie was Black Star. Lucky people always had to be the main character. This arrangement is very appropriate. Only someone as handsome as you can act as me. Look, if the two of us stand there, those who don't know will probably think that we're twins. Fu Ding was speechless. Han Xiao laughed for a while before waving his hand. All right, I'll stop teasing you. The main reason is that no one dares to act as me. No one dares to take on the role of me. Plus, you're one of my people, and you used to be a celebrity, so that's how the director arranged it. But how long has it been since I last acted? Isn't this too much of a joke? Fu Ding hesitated. Haha, only by letting you act as the main character will the movie be popular. Plus, you're already a calamity grade and a psychic. How difficult can acting be for you? Han Xiao laughed. Han Xiao had to persuade the skeptical Phaidon for a while before he managed to persuade him to leave. He shook his head with a smile and took out his communicator to check the latest news. After scrolling through the news for a while, he was suddenly stunned. His eyes locked onto one of the internal news from the dynasty. Dark Emperor has resigned. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.